Father, we thank you for the Jewish people. We thank you, Lord, that without the Jewish faith, Christianity would not even exist. Father, we thank you that you would continue to fortify and strengthen the nation of Israel. Thank you for the capital of Jerusalem. Father, we thank you that you would wake up the millions of people who are not yet praying for Israel, who are not yet praying and fasting for Israel. We pray, God, an awakening around the world, and we pray, God, that you would awaken the United Nations like never before. We ask, God, that you would bring your reverence, bring your peace, and bring your blessing to Israel, and bless those, Father, continually who stand for Israel.
Holy shit. Claycore, welcome back to the SJJ channel. Are you there, my dear?
Yes, I am. I thought you were still in the middle of your intro.
No, we've much to discuss, haven't we? Like, ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't find an intro, and that one seemed fitting for the subject at hand.
It was perfect.
Yeah. So, look, I wasn't prepared for this. Claycore, well, actually, I suggested it to you earlier. We did a little bit of this. Preemptively over on Claire's channel. Yeah.
Yes, on my channel.
The link's in the description if you want to find that. But I said to Claire, look, let's just talk about this on my channel later. People might be interested in it. So there was some problems with my stream last night. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, you feel free to let the shekels flow, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let the shekels flow. Now, I'm waiting for the shekels to begin flowing whilst I network here. But look, there was some issues related to the stream yesterday. I've been absolutely slated behind the scenes. People aren't happy with me, and in many ways, they're probably right not to be happy. You know what went on, don't you, Claire?
Well, they were just going to get offended by any little thing Doovid said, and Doovid was giving you career and financial advice, and you seem to have taken on board some of it. And
yeah, commence throwing the shekels at me, please, guys. Okay, I'm waiting.
Or no words of wisdom follow from the mouth of SJJ.
Oh, look, so let's just talk about it. Look, the controversial thing, it's not just that I have Doovid on the stream, but essentially last night, everybody was like outraged the fact that towards the end, he started essentially calling me a stupid goy. And I kind of accepted it and said, well, I guess you're right, Doovid. And in the back end, people are saying to me, look, you made us look weak. You're letting it. How dare you let somebody speak to you like that? You're embarrassing not only yourself, your nation, and the entire white race.
Well, this is part of the entertainment. You bide your time before you wait for an opportune moment to ask him some challenging question that he's unable to answer. I mean, if
holy shit!
At the drop
we
of
have
a hat.
A guest.
Hey.
We have We have a guest.
Hey,
the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, dude. I may only have like 5 minutes, so I just listen. Two things. One, don't let the Wignats make you feel guilty. Okay, like they can't help but tune in. They love to get riled up.
Absolutely.
But they will. But you can never satisfy them. Number two,
no.
Doovid. I mean, I found yesterday just like, I don't know. He's just, his favorite topic is himself. It's like, let's talk about this week. Let's talk about who I talked to and my analysis on myself. And when he talks in the third person, and it's just so hilarious. And I said in the chat, I said, when he streams Week in Review, he has two different camera angles of himself because there are two Doovids. The first Doovid, goes on big people streams and is like the internet rabbi. And then the second Doovid is like the pundit who analyzes the first Doovid. And that's his identity at this point. But I mean, I think you should.
No, you're right. You're right. Those are great.
Claire would have pushed back. You got to have.
Yes. Yeah. Well, look. I think there's a few things to say there. Like, those are great observations about Doovid, and you're right about the Wignats. And look, you're gonna get the ones who love to hate Doovid either way. The truth about the stream yesterday is that the criticisms are actually valid. They are actually valid, which is what I hate. That I shouldn't have let him kind of push me around a little. But I'm kind of trying to build a rapport with Doovid, with like an eye on something that could be built greater in the future. Okay, something that with an eye onto what can become of this thing of having Doovid on a regular basis, and maybe bringing guests on and getting them to battle against Doovid, that kind of thing. So
it is like, okay, so I can tell you from my experience is that at first, like, my whole thing with Doovid is we argued on Luke Ford's show, and there was like battles on Babs Cast, and we were not friendly, right?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
his ego, couldn't keep him from, he came on the Brundle cast, and then it was like the back and forth between he and I was like too good, so like I kept him coming, and it like initially it was like sort of genuine dislike, but then eventually it was like I really like Doovid, and so it's like really hard to be nasty to Doovid, even though Doovid is kind of can be nasty, but like he's hard to take serious because he's just, you know what I mean? Like, he can't hurt me, you know what I mean? So it's like, so you let other people fight with him, you know what I mean? And I think, that was how I dealt with it.
Yeah, it's not also clear how much in character Doovid has begun to play over the years. I think he plays it up, doesn't he? He plays up this kind of costume Jew a bit.
Yeah. No, trust me. Like, he's happy to go on Mario Knopfel and be like, "Oh yeah, like yeah, of course I'm a rabbi," because like that sort of like lends this instant credibility plus his appearance, and it's like for 80% of the audience, like that's as deep as it goes. You know what I mean? And no one's.
He admitted as much last night too. He admitted as much. He said, "Look, this is what Jews do. This is what we do. We go there and look. I'm the big Jew in town. Listen to me, boy."
Yeah, well, exactly. Like, do they understand that Doovid is basically this half Jew who is like no Jew actually? This is why the Jews are like, you don't belong to a synagogue. You're just this guy. You know what I mean? Who's like sort of such a contrarian that you like throw a yarmulke on when you go on the internet. And I mean, listen, I love Doovid. Yeah. I love that, dude. Listen, I have like 30 seconds, but I was just gonna say, I found Judas Fly Chai or whatever has a channel, and he's like restreaming stuff from 2018, like last week. I was like, what in the world?
Yes.
Like, it's wild, man. These people, it's cool. Anyway, all right. Well, sorry, I have to like go. It was great talking to you, Stephen and Claire. Great to hear your voice, and I'm going to be listening.
Okay, Ricardo, great to hear from you. Thank you for coming on. We're going to get into the depths of it with Claire here now.
Yes.
So, Claire, what? Fantastic to hear from Brundle. I mean, Ricardo, after all this time.
Yes. Yes, it was good to hear his voice, the same old voice. I mean, he was just saying, look, we can't be flouncing out of a stream every time somebody insults us, even if it's our own channel, because then you'll be kind of arguing with them about them insulting you. And sometimes they do deliberately insult you in order to distract from the fact that they don't have the answer to your question. So they insult you.
Well, I don't think that's what Doovid was doing. Look, I think part of it is, so I think there's a desire for him to create a show with me, okay, as well as I have for him. And I think that part of it is he wants to
You're
create
going to be
some
the next Jen
antagonism.
Sharp.
I think he wants to create some antagonism. I mean, Doovid is not stupid, far from it. And when I'm saying this, I'm meaning in terms of his awareness of like the hate watching that he gets, not just from Wignats, but from many, just like the average viewer in the chat who sees him for the first time and goes like, what the fuck, 200% Jew, oh my god. I think that was the first ever comment when he appeared on Luke Ford's show. Somebody went, wow, 200% Jew. And he's aware of this, and so he plays up to it, like I just called him a costume Jew a little while ago.
Yes, and the idea is that, I mean, he acknowledges his viewers. He calls them his haters, his hate watchers. That was his way of, acknowledging them.
But he absolutely does get hate watchers too. There are people that absolutely, genuinely hate to see Doovid. It riles them up something rotten. And then it reconfirms all of their ideas when they see, say, Doovid just being what they see as arrogant, insulting, rude to, say, me, who they might have built up like this, I don't know, parasocial relationship with me and want to defend me or something like that. And, hate to see me getting insulted or taking an L.
Yes. I think what you should do is have a range of Jews. That's your next step. You can't just only have
Holy
one.
shit.
And then watch them fight each other because they all hate each other because Doovid was so rude to Elliot. And he doesn't get on with Aaron Hammy Heard. I mean, the only way to get back to him is, you're not the only Jew I have on my, my address book.
No, there we go. You see, no, Joe, it's not just about how awful Doovid's enemies are. No, look, introspectively, trying to work this out. The criticisms that were said against me are valid. Okay, I can imagine everybody watching that thinking, holy shit, Stephen, why are you letting Doovid talk to you like this? But so you have to think of my rationality. First of all, it's no excuse, but I was absolutely exhausted yesterday. I didn't mention it, but I had been working all day. Then I hit the gym for 2 hours. Then I come home. Like 99% of me would have cancelled that stream, but I've cancelled on Doovid like 4 or 5 weeks in a row. So I just didn't say anything. I went through with it. The stream went on for 2 hours. By like close to the second hour, I was brain dead. Okay, I was drained, brain dead. There was also shit going on in the background on Telegram, stuff happening. So I was like, Doovid was doing his just monologuing about stuff. After like a minute, due to my ADHD, I zone out anyway when somebody's talking. If they carry on for another 2 or 3...
That's all you expected to do. Let him get on with it.
Yeah, I know, but after like, if it goes on for like 3 minutes that somebody's speaking, by the end of the third minute, I've no idea what they were saying at the start of the first minute. So like,
you could say, would you like to sum up in one sentence what he just said?
I'll remember that one. That one, because instead of that, I would just like come back. I would notice he'd stop speaking, and I'd come back with something like, "That's a fair point, Doovid."
Oh, I'm sorry. I nodded off. Could you say?
Yeah, but instead, I
finally say that.
It's probably bad, but just to agree. So yeah, so there's all that, and then in my mind, I want to build a rapport with Doovid, because I have in my mind that there's the potential here to build something going forward that was explosive by having Doovid as a co-host to a show where we can have some explosive interactions with other guests. Okay. Well, Ricardo says you don't have to apologize for being polite. All these things are true. Go on, what do you have to say?
Bide your time. And, if it's a long-term relationship, then, the opportunities will arise. Because it's awfully not practical to say, what did you just say to me? Take that back or else. You can't
Yeah.
do that because it will interrupt the flow of the conversation.
Here's the other thing as well, right? People might not like to hear it, but they know it's true. What Doovid's saying has actual truth to it as well. He is right when he's saying that. What did he say to me? He needs to slap. I need to slap the dumb guy out of you. And there's some truth to that. Let's just admit it. Okay.
He said things to Brundle too. Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, this is how it goes, and I think, it's better to just let it. Some people don't even notice. Maybe some people even know that only know you've been insulted because you react in a certain way, and if you didn't, respond to it in a certain way, they think, they think nothing of it.
Yeah.
A lot of people's perception of how a conversation went depends on your reaction to what was said. And if you are overreactive, then people will just take a note of that and say things to get to get you to react later.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
anyway,
shit.
it's a tough game.
It is a tough game.
These slings and arrows of insults and abuse that we have to endure just to have our channel.
Look, you see, Joe can't cope with me saying things like this, with me admitting, look, nothing I say will be good enough to explain my mindset to somebody like Joe, who just sees it as beyond egregious for Doovid to sit there and me not to kick him off my show and say, that's it, Doovid, get out of here. You're calling me a dumb guy. Well, you're a sneaky Jew or something like that. And kick him off. I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I am polite.
Yeah.
I am polite. Okay, and yes, maybe he was going too far a little. But anyway, I have said to him, I've said, look, Doovid, going forward, I need to be more assertive. We need to mix this up a little. Maybe I need to try to bring in guests and mix this up a bit.
Oh yes, yes.
Yes.
It would be interesting to see Did Doovid ever appear with Colin?
Yeah, I think one time.
One time, wasn't it?
Colin also left a brutal summary, a brutal review of the stream. Let's see if I can find it.
Well, in terms of entertainment, it was fine.
It was for somebody.
I was pleased I got 2 mentions.
Sure. Well, yeah. Always looking out for yourself.
Well, I can't. My ears do pick up when secular Quranism and my name are mentioned. And I mean, it was quite hurtful that he said he'd rather meet an anti-Semite socially than me. That was what he said, wasn't it, Stephen?
Something like that. Look, I think that's pretty hard on you. I think that's pretty hard on you, to be fair. Elliot Black claims that he can tame Doovid. We have Adolf Blatt here wishing to step into the ring. I believe that is throwing his hat down.
Well, I mean, did you ever hear the streams when Church of Entropy she couldn't decide between Doovid and Elliot, and they were both kind of auditioning for the role, and Doovid basically steamrolled Elliot.
Yes, he did.
Just talked over him.
It was brutal, yeah.
He's a steamroller.
So look, we are going to have to. I am going to have to be more assertive with Doovid if we go forward. If I don't, he's not. I understand that if I don't, he's not going to respect me as a person anyway. So look, we have to go easy. But I said to somebody in the back end, the truth is, I'm not an intellectual like many of the people here who are just throwing criticism down at me. Like I should have like the Richard Spencer level comebacks, or I don't know, whoever. Pick your anti-Semite of the year or whatever. Comebacks against somebody who has mastered the art of jiu-jitsu to like black belt eighth dan. Okay.
If
They
you were
expect
a
me to
woman, Stephen, if you were a woman,
what?
you just let him abuse you and just get status, like, then all the men start becoming protective over you and want to hit him because he was being so rude, and and that would, I mean, I guess if you were anti-Semite, you might stoke the fans of anti-Semitism by taking it, by taking it. I mean, that would be a way of.
Well, look, hey, here's part of it. I think it's great. Well, maybe I shouldn't say this. Should I say this?
Go on.
I think it's great to put Doooovid in a window and put him on show to the world and let people hear the quiet part said out loud, okay?
Mhm.
So, in many ways, it's not such a big deal to me. If look, I'm being nailed to a cross by Doooovid, okay?
Just pay up your
Did I just
victimhood.
let you call me a woman, Claire? Or is that what
No, I'm
slipped
just
through
saying, if
there?
you were a woman and knew how to play your cards, you would be collecting points for your victimhood. Like, oh, but, Doovid's abusing me again. I'm so weak and I need help, and isn't he so mean?
Look,
And,
Look, if another Jew wants to nail a goy to a cross in public, all I'm saying is the outcome might not necessarily in the long run be harmful. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Anyway, we've got a guest here. It's Super Gay Vincent.
and it's his birthday.
Happy birthday, Vincent!
I
Did you
forgot
get a
to say
dildo?
that.
Yes, hi, thank you. No, I went out for. No, actually, I got. You know what I got for my birthday? I got canaries.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, I have to film them. Hold on, you want to see them? I'll show them to you. Hold on.
Yeah, let's see your birds. Come
How
on.
many have you got now? How many
I have
birds?
30, but I have 6 canaries.
All we can see is your head.
Hold on.
And the light above it, your head.
Hold on.
It's so neat and tidy, your place.
Thank you. I'm not showing you my whole house.
What are they called?
Okay, so they are this white one jumping around in reverse. Oh wait, what if I do like this? Does that make it easier? No. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
this one
Yeah,
right
we can see
here.
that now.
This one here is Taxi, and this one here is Chinito, and that white one right there is Ballet, and the gray one in the back is Ted. The gray one in the back is Ted. This one in the back that's yellow, that's kind of blurry. Him, that's Tiger, and then there's also Tango there in the middle, the white one. So I have all them, and I'm not getting
Excellent.
any more birds at all.
Well, I think 30 is quite a lot to be getting on with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is my.
So Vincent, what's the obsession with birds anyway? Then we'll
I
get
don't
back to
know.
talking
I
about the
just
stream.
I just love them.
They've got to be a lot of work though. How often do you have to clean that thing out?
I have something in there that makes it that I can clean it out like once a day. I just have a piece of paper that I pull out.
Okay.
Yeah, they must make a lot of. Well, they must scatter their seed a lot.
Yeah, I
And
have
shit.
Well, they have a bonnet around the cage. So So what is the topic of discussion?
Well, Doooovid, do you have anything to say about Doooovid and your
his
conversations with him?
His thing about yes and no and the multiple truth hypothesis, and to be honest, like when him and Jen, they do this thing where I don't think they know what they're talking about, and I don't think their audience knows what they're talking about, and I refuse to believe that I'm the only stupid, like I'm the only person that's on earth that's too stupid to know what the fuck they're talking about and just think it's gibberish, and
Because I think you're intellectually confident enough to ask questions. Well, everybody won't ask questions because asking a question might show them to be ignorant. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, yeah, I'd rather, but I mean, a lot of it is just, I don't know. What am I trying to say? I think it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. I think a lot of their, the stuff that they talk about is a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and they try to, wrap this up into like some kind of science and like Vedic science or something like that. And I don't think it's quite that at all.
Yes, I think the game is for them to make you listen to them. For how long they can do that before you realize they're just talking nonsense.
Who are we talking about? Yeah, you'd like to say?
I was thinking of Jen and Doooovid.
Jen and
Doooovid. Right. I thought you said like typecasting all Jews, Claire, for a moment there. I thought you were being anti-Semitic.
Well, I mean, a lot of educated Gentiles do that. I mean, it's part of the game of getting people to listen to you talking nonsense, wasting their time, and show how clever you are. And I mean, I know Gentiles who do that. I think, what was the point of that? Why didn't you, say that in a sentence or something?
Hippocratic Oath says SJJ blocks with his face when sparring with Doooovid. Like, there's a lot of good criticism coming in here. The one that kind of hurt the most, okay, was from Apollonian Germ. Okay, so now since I've done a couple of streams with Thomas, I've got people who like big characters like Apollonian Germ tuning into my streams occasionally, and I saw in a Telegram chat Apollonian Germ saying that when I said I wasn't bothered that like that Judaism is a supremacist religion, and they think that they're going to get 2,000 slaves, and that somebody who's like a believing Jew automatically believes into that. And I said, well, I just don't care about that, really. I understand that that's a supremacist worldview, and they hold that. And I heard Apollonian Germ say that, what was it? It was like disgustingly weak or something like that of me for that to be my response. But I don't know what else to say about that. I don't know what else to say. I really don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck. I expect other people to all have these views that they're better than other people, to be honest. I kind of think that's the norm, that more people should have that kind of worldview, to be honest. I don't really have a problem with it. I understand.
You should be making it as entertaining and informative as possible. Well, that's what I'd do if I were you.
Yeah, but just on this point that, like, Doooovid believes that at the end of days or whatever, he's going to have 2,000 goy slaves. Somebody made a joke in the chat, actually, that he's only half Jew, so he'll only get 1,000 anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, why are we arguing about this when it cannot be proven anyway? I mean, it's just so crazy. A lot of people, they take these ridiculous
just the fact that he's a Jew,
it can't be proven, and they fall out with each other over it.
Yeah, but they believe that, and so the criticism is, therefore, that makes them like a Jewish supremacist. And what kind of like nasty, bad ideas and hatred are they harboring inside them to hold that view, basically?
But don't we all think we're better than other people? I mean, we have to. We have to, in order to remain in our current religious group, I would have thought. I mean, obviously, Christians think they're better than Jews and Muslims because why would they, remain Christian otherwise? It is already implied and assumed.
Yeah, but because
And
on the
then they have
stream
all these stories they have to believe in order to think they're better than us.
yeah, but it just look, maybe it is disgustingly weak on me. I don't know, but I don't think it is. Just to not
Don't worry
give a
about
shit
it.
about that. I just don't give a shit about that. I accept it that there are people who would naturally hold a worldview that they're the best and everybody else isn't. Plus, all this stuff.
And you can't
This is
prove that.
This is basically an ideology that was concocted at a time when slavery was the norm anyway. So it's just like, it just seems to me like basically natural that these people came up with this idea. We're the best. Everybody else is below us. And yeah, I'm sure it.
And that's why we follow our very restrictive rules. I mean, Catholics had to think they were better than Protestants because they had longer masses and, had a stricter regime, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
they endured that because they thought they were going to heaven and you guys weren't.
At the time when these ideologies were concocted up, slavery was the norm anyway. So it seems perfectly natural to me that we're like at the end of days or whatever, when you construct these ideologies that your group is going to triumph over the others, and then you're going to naturally take the slaves of the others. Like when your God declares victory over everybody else, and it just makes sense to me that people have these views. I kind of accept it. There's lots of Wignuts I interact with who like think that black people are lesser than them and stuff like that.
I mean, you don't want to be manipulated by the equivalent of women who say to their husbands or boyfriends, "Are you going to let him talk to me like that?" Like you should punch his lights out, but you might get your lights punched out if she's just wanting a couple of men to fight over her. So I think we should be careful of the people who are trying to manipulate us into greater conflict than we would want to be engaged in.
Well, the conflict could actually be good. Actually,
Yes.
This is the thing. The conflict between me and Doooovid could be good, but also
Preferably, it should be ideological as well as instead of just merely personal.
yeah.
Because if it's personal, it's just like, well, who cares? That you said mean things about each other and you don't like each other. But if it's actually about some political principle, then it would become more interesting.
Yeah, but here's the problem. I don't necessarily have the knowledge and the ability to do verbal jujitsu with somebody on the level of Doooovid.
I think
on
that's why
something like that.
Doooovid won't talk to me these days.
Why? Because you think
Sometimes he
you
talks to
can.
me, but reluctantly, foot dragging me. And then he said he didn't want to meet me in person, even if the chance arose, and he'd rather talk to an anti-Semite. But still, I'm grateful to him for being the first person to talk about secular Quranism on his channel, and
By the way, we're halfway through the stream, ladies and gentlemen. If you could give this stream a thumbs up and begin sending your shekels in now, that would be great.
Oh God!
No, just the thumbs
I'm so
up,
bad.
please.
I couldn't do it.
Just the thumbs up would do.
I forget.
Wait,
Forget to tell people to share and like.
Stephen, can I ask you a question? Because you were specifically
Yeah,
brought
go
up.
ahead.
So when Thomas Baden Rees, who officially came out as this is his fake ID and he's really gay and he's making fun of everyone in the right and it's all a joke, he mentioned you specifically as if you were some kind of like radical, like, whoa, I want to disassociate myself from him. Like, what are you saying that's so out there that he needed to disassociate himself from you?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Vincent, because
So Claire, what are your views on Thomas Baden Rees's latest video, which has gone, by the way, hasn't it? It's gone. Oh, I can't play any of it. Has it gone?
There's an MP3 of it, but I mean, all it's saying is I was only joking, and stupid people would know, but I'm joking. But yeah, the thing about disavowing from whatever and I thought, well, you never said anything. I mean, I don't know why he dropped you in it.
So
Do you?
hold on, I'm looking for a link to the video, see if it's still available. I think it's gone.
But what was he referring to? Like, oh God, Stephen J. James, like, dun dun dun.
He's such a terror.
Yeah, like, what was that all about?
Radical. It's like, what? Are we talking about the same Stephen J. James whose catchphrase is "It's more than my job's worth. It's above my pay grade."
Oh, come off it, Claire. Behave. Oh, behave. I've never used the phrase "I'm a job's worth." Yeah, look, the video's gone for whatever reason. But anyway, so if you didn't see it, Thomas Barnes uploaded a video where he sat there and he says, "Hello, everyone. My name is Martin, and I am an actor and a classical liberal. I invented the character of Thomas Barton Rees in order to make fun of conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists. It was a character I invented a long time ago. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah." And then he says, "Particularly, I would like to denounce Stephen J. James and Jordan." So here's the question, right? Go on, Claire. Go on before I say.
No, I don't even know what he might mean, because neither of you say anything about anything anyway. So I don't know why he picked on you two like that.
Well,
are you hurt?
Vincent, what do you think? Vincent, what do you think? Let's find out from Vincent.
Well, you're so Mr. Careful and so Mr. Now, don't say anything crazy on my show. So I mean, like, I don't understand why he picked on you. Like, you were like the cream of the crop of the terrorists. Like, like, why did he like single you out?
So what does that tell you?
He's a troublemaker and cannot be taken seriously. I keep saying that in all the telegrams.
Well, are you suggest? Well, you kind of were suggesting in chat with me that even though it's an act, that it's not all an act. Like, you still fall for some of this, whatever this is.
Okay, when I think he's being genuine, it's like, oh, I'll be back in January. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll become a grifter. I need to sort myself out. Maybe I'll come back. And it's always the sort of, the swings of the pendulum about what to do. And it's like, I can't stand this for much longer, because then I get frustrated and angry that I'm so helpless, and I might say terrible things and get myself into trouble. So that's why I can't stay long and I have to leave, because I can't accept that I'm so helpless and so ineffectual, and that's why I get so angry and say such crazy things. And I think that has a kind of element of truth in it, because I can imagine many men feeling the way.
Okay. He also alluded to the fact. He also alluded to the idea, and he was accused by a website that he's openly having a conflict of being Jewish. He's basically, so he admits he's gay. he admits he's gay, and then he alludes.
No,
he does allude to the fact that he's Jewish. I looked him up, and I was watching things about him and what he said about Israel or whatever he said, and he never comes out and says he's Jewish. But whenever he's talking about Jews, they'll add in things like, oh, these people would pogrom me and my whole family and, you know, stuff like that. So it just sounds like he's Jewish and gay and making fun of the dissident right. And I think that they were also stupid that they fell for it. And they're still he still has loyalists. He still has people that say that, oh, this is all a scam and this is a lie, and he's covering it. I mean, I'm not making that up. I know I've seen people that are like, oh, this is really the fake person, and Thomas Baden Reese is the real person. So with your little comment about what does that make you think when he turns on you, so we're supposed to think he's not being serious in that video because he targets you as, you know, public enemy number one.
So look, I've got a little clip here that I'd saved from the thing because I had to send it to Jord. Let's watch this then.
I would also like to say that there are certain characters certainly in my viewership and in conspiracy circles and in the distant right who I must really disavow. I'm thinking in particular of characters like Stephen J. James or Jordan. I want to make it clear, in case the authorities are watching this video and they haven't understood that the character of Thomas Baden Reese is indeed a parody character, I would like to say that I disavow everyone on the distant right and in conspiracy circles, but that especially I disavow certain characters like Stephen J. James or indeed Jordan. And I disavow them because, for example, I've heard recently that Jordan does literally take a lot of my videos to be real instead of understanding that they are parody, and that he is based upon these videos, he is getting it into his head that, you know, that it's okay to threaten someone's family online. I want to make something very clear. It's not okay to threaten anyone online, and it's certainly not okay to threaten anyone's family online.
Okay. So like that, the quality was low because that was something that I just shared and sent to Jord on Telegram, basically. But that appears to be the only copy of that left, unless it's on Odyssey. It might not be on Odyssey. Anyway, Thomas made this video. Look, I think that this is a lesson in autism. If you can't see which one is the stick and which isn't, then I don't know what to tell you, basically. I don't want to break the fourth wall.
So you're saying this is a joke on his part that he's playing now?
What do you think? Well, you can't tell. This is the problem, is that you can't tell.
Okay, why don't you have pity on us autists and let us know?
Yes, that's all. Okay, yes. It's obviously a joke, isn't it? Just like when he did a video about having sex with my gran. Okay, was that true? No, that was a joke too. Thomas Baden Reese, as I've said all the way along, is a performance artist and also a complicated character who's fascinated by conspiracy theories and stuff like this. He genuinely does have all these interests, and alongside that he performs humor, skits, parodies, satire. All these things are kind of worked into it, but the truth is you can't make everything a parody from day one. It would not be possible to make the entire character of Thomas Baden Reese from like 2014 to 2023, all that entirely one big performance art LARP, and then just come out in 2023 and say, hello, my name is Martin. You have all been watching a character that I invented to mock you all. If that's the case, then that is like the greatest. It's an Oscar-winning performance, basically, if that was true. Also, we know that his real name actually used to be Martin, but he actually showed on a stream like a couple of weeks ago that he is actually called Thomas Baden Reese on his passport anyway.
Really?
Yes, he literally held up the full photo card page of his passport on the stream and stuck it in the camera like an idiot.
Well,
Well, but okay, this is like this is I don't it. Then there's just something really fucking off in the milk, and he could even be fucking working for this. Okay, you know what? I've never accused anyone of working for the CIA before. I've never accused
Holy
anyone
shit.
of working for. Maybe he's working for MI5 or whatever you have over there. What is it? MI6, MI5?
MI5 probably, but I mean, yes, it would be to cause division, waste our
Come on.
time. So instead of talking about actual things that matter in politics, we waste endless hours talking if Thomas Barton Rees actually means what he says. It doesn't matter even if he does or doesn't. He's completely irrelevant because he hasn't taken a position that has been consistent ever since his appearance online. So why are we even talking about him or worrying about what he might think? And dropping Stephen in it is
No,
right.
look, Vincent, okay, it's fair enough for Vincent to bring this up and say, look, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Vincent was genuine with, like, in private DMs to me saying, what's going on? He's disavowing you. Now, TBR's been fake all along. And I call this autism, but I see that it's valid because basically that was the response of half of the people who watched that video. They had no idea if he was being real or not. Such is I suppose, the level of the performance art itself. I think it says a lot about the audience watching it. But I've said all along, I've been very consistent all the way along. In fact, one of the earliest debates that Jordan and I had was, is Thomas Barton Rees a performance artist or not?
Well, Puff Wagon says he's just a paid actor by the state. Well, it's possible. I think that's quite a plausible theory in my view.
Well, if that was true, then so he'd be hiding it from his friend Georgina, who goes and stays with him, who's interacted with his parents. All the stories about his parents would be in on it. I suppose what you're saying is Georgina could also be a state actor, and for some reason the state is investing like thousands of dollars just to convince SJJ about some kind of narrative about Thomas. I've spoke to Thomas in private lots and lots over the last couple of months, as well as Georgina, his friend. What are the chances that for some reason that none of us can work out, MI5 wishes to convince me personally that Thomas Barton Rees is like a particular person?
I think we're wasting time talking about him.
So
And
anyway,
taking him seriously enough.
He's just a funny guy. He's just a funny guy, a very talented guy. Okay, and he's interested in conspiracies, and he has had all these concerns, and he, was driven a bit mad by COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? It's really disappointing that this guy is who so many of you find so entertaining and actually idealize. And a lot of you did think he was real. And the thing is, I mean, you liked him for this.
Holy shit, you still haven't got it. You still haven't got it, Vincent.
No, I did get it. Well, some people did think he was real, so.
He is real. He is real.
Yes, finish what you were saying, Vincent.
You know what? I don't know if he's real. This sounds like bizarre, and I don't know. I mean, you but that's not even his real name. And no, Thomas Bodden Reese is not his real name. That's a made up.
No, it is his real name.
Now he changed it.
To Martin.
No, his
No.
name was Martin, and then he changed his name.
Look here. Right, hold on.
He changed his name.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, so then
Lots of people do this who are going to be actors or think they're getting into acting and that kind of stuff. Or
Okay, then
he's written
then
like 9 books.
Acting. This isn't that serious. This is like, this is
Okay,
like.
look. Here's the stream. Right, here's the stream where he did it. Watch.
Read the label. I don't know what to do. It's from Decathlon. I don't want to advertise, but it is a bloody good shop. And I went there with my son, and of course I had to buy something. I said to myself, I won't go in. I'll sit in the car. I love Decathlon, and I'm buying some boots that I don't need, but they're gorgeous.
It's coming up.
And what do you call it? It's not tea. What do you call these?
You're so fucking thick.
A thermal. Is it called a thermal?
Right there, because people don't think that my real name is Thomas Barden Reese. There you fucking have it. There you fucking have it. Barden Reese Thomas, British citizen, 17th of June, blah, blah, blah.
Don't do that because somebody can copy your details down.
So there you have it, okay?
I don't
Yeah,
like
well,
the way he treats
yeah, but now that he changed his name and it's all real sounds. All this back and forth sounds real on point and real honest and real credible. Everything he says seems to be real credible, Stephen J. James. So, I mean, you're just taking this. You're so convinced that you're able to like read this crypto behavior when my whole thing is just okay. Well, this is all just,
You are autistic, Vincent. You are autistic. You can't tell when you can't look at somebody and tell like sarcasm from genuineness, can you? Do you have trouble reading people?
No, I mean
Are
sometimes not like that.
Do you mistake people's anger for them being friendly to you? Does this happen regularly in your life?
No, it doesn't. But he wasn't. He just was, coming out and saying that, So you're saying that whole thing about making up Thomas Bodden Reeves and the guy that said you should burn or I'm gonna burn your family alive. This is all just like some made up thing. He didn't even really go through that. There was no experience that drove him into creating this character. Like none of this is true.
Pretty much, yeah.
Maybe
But yet things that he's done, okay, in the past, he's mixed skits and performance art with the things that he actually cares about, okay? In a way, think of, it's not exactly the same, but like, say, an Alex Jones, okay? There's no doubt that Alex Jones is somewhat of a right-winger who cares about, like, republicanism and stuff like that to some level, or those are like his general proclivities. But does he actually believe that like the Trichoms are ruling the world, or that there's some kind of alien pedo base on Mars and the satanic pedo cult is taking people to Mars, or are these just like exaggerations of a persona about aspects that he's already interested in? I think yes, they are that performance and exaggeration.
Can we talk about secular Quranism now?
Absolutely not. Here is like another. I never look. I don't want to be typecast as the SJJ guy, for fuck's sake, for whatever as the Thomas Boundaries guy, for fuck's sake. The thing is, I've spoke to Thomas twice now, just twice, after doing over 500 fucking videos and live streams and being on the internet for fucking years. I've literally had Thomas on my channel twice. I'm not his keeper. I'm not his handler. I have very little connection to him whatsoever. I just took credit for him coming back onto the internet because it was kind of meme worthy. But here's another example that I used like against Jord. Okay, for you to understand, is Thomas like 100% always serious, or is he a character? And it's hard for the audience not to realize which is real and which is like a performance art. I think, especially if 50% of the audience is as autistic as Vincent, as they seem to be, and probably Claire too. But when it happens to you, like this one happened to me, I obviously instantly know that it's all performance art. So have a look at this.
Kids, let me today make a very important video. I believe that someone might be about to make public rape allegations against me. So because of that, I basically want to get my story out now, because my story is the truth. Now, the person in question goes by the name of Stephen J. James. He's part of the distant right. And for the last 6 months, he's been threatening me in private to release revelatory material that would implicate me as both a rapist and someone who contrives to shush rape victims. Now, like I say, he's been threatening this for the last 6 months on Instagram. I think he might be about to go live. He's recently made a video in which he's hinted about these things. I want to get clear, basically, the sequence of events which is the truth. And that is this. Stephen J. James, like I say, he's in the distant right. His gran also follows the distant right. His gran ended up watching some TikTok videos of me and became aroused. She then got in touch with me. We traded messages on Snapchat, very intimate messages on Snapchat. And then in time, I ended up meeting with Stephen J. James's gran, and we had full sexual intercourse. Now, after that, I wasn't interested anymore. She became a bit pissed, and so she then started to suggest to me in private messages that she would go to the police about this and accuse me of rape. Now, further to this, I want to make clear, with Stephen J. James, I met the guy and I said he had nice calves. I sort of patted him on the back and said he was a good-looking boy. And because of all of this, he's now got it into his head that I raped him. And again, not only, it's not just the allegation.
So anyway, look, do you see now? Hey, exactly, lol. It says everybody, lol, it's funny. None of that, for the autists out there who's struggling to keep up, none of that is true. None of that happened. Interdimensional Lizard says, I'm convinced. But here's the thing, Thomas doesn't put this as a parody under something like that when he makes it. And half the audience believes it. Just like half the audience believed the latest parody video that he put out, okay? Is it starting to make sense now or not?
I don't know, maybe. Anyway, I gotta go for now, so
Okay, Vincent.
Thanks
for
having me
coming.
on. Yeah.
I'm glad we
bye.
addressed this. Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for coming.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Vincent.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Bye.
Bye.
It's tough being an old gay, isn't it?
Vincent's
Getting
not
old.
old.
No, I meant getting old and being gay. I suppose that has to be tough.
Yes, in a society that does not respect its elders, it's terrible. In a cult of youth and beauty.
Yeah. If you want to watch the rest of that Thomas Barton-Rees content from back in the day, peak Thomas content, it's there. But as I say, I'm in danger of becoming typecast as the Thomas Barton-Rees guy. Okay, so
What do you
I'm
want to
not
be
that. I'm
cast
not
as? What do you want to be
nothing.
cast as? Your own person.
I don't want to
should
be. I just want to do whatever I want on the internet. I keep saying I'm not a political actor. I keep saying I'm not the TBR guy. I keep saying I've expressed the frustration with the fact that when you get to like this level that I'm at now, which is such a fucking tiny level on the internet, that it amazes me that it's already happening, that people come to you and in various different ways they are attempting to co-opt what you're doing. And some of it I think is in good faith. Some of it may be in bad faith for like just personal reasons. Some of it may even be like organized. I don't want to have these conspiracies, but there's some things that I don't want to explicitly speak about that I do look at and I think, oh, is this like an attempt to like co-opt me in a way? And it bothers me, does that? And these kind of things I will like kind of instinctively react against, probably.
co-opt you into what?
Well, I described it as like people come and they put their arm around you. So some people do it in a in like a super friendly way and in a flattering way, and tell you that they like what you're doing and blah blah blah, and encourage you to do X, Y, and Z. Others,
What have you been encouraged to do that you think is not a good idea?
well, no, because I don't want to. It's just various things, quite various things.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily want
Quranism.
No, definitely not.
Well, I could be co-opting you or trying to.
I'm suspicious of a few characters who have made themselves known to me. Let's just put it that way. Okay, you know, I'm wondering what.
You're the coming man in Streamland.
Hardly. I mean, Doovid's assessment yesterday was more accurate. That like doing what I'm doing will never be something that's popular, and I agree with that assessment absolutely. There is like just like random chance that something could go viral or whatever. It's unlikely
If
unless
it is
I start making actual videos.
Because
Well, that's a conspiracy in itself.
Yes, but I think you have the range. You know, you are known on both sides of the Atlantic. You have spoken to Muslims. You have spoken to Jews. You are kind of, known by the nationalist community. You have certain views. I mean, you'd be pigeonholed. And yes, you could be useful for propaganda purposes.
Well, maybe in like a year's time. Look, if there is some network of like fucking people, maybe like an NGO or state level actors. I don't know how any of this shit works, but if there are, and they do like grassroots infiltration of things, then at what level do they appear? At what level do they appear and worm their way in? I was talking about this with Doovid, like my suspicion about that character who got exposed, that we spent most of the stream talking about, who Doovid had interacted with, this Darko...
BZ.
Yeah, BZ, also known as Darko Jovanovic or something. And he is either just like a con man, who was like a flim-flam man who's running his own con, or he's some kind of either state level actor, agent of chaos, or agent of infiltration, or it doesn't have to be state level, it could be NGO level, think tank level, or whatever you call it, say lobby level, like special interest group level. Who, I mean, don't be naive that there are like special interest groups who are engaged in social media manipulation and political manipulation and influence just as much as there are state level actors and states involved in stuff like this. It's not necessarily like thousands of people actually sat in a government building in Tel Aviv who are like doing Israeli Hasbara. It's various people who are like just paid or who are ideologically aligned with special interest groups who aren't working at a state level. And it's not just Israeli either. They're all different kinds of special interest groups and lobby groups. So the question is, if this thing goes on, then at what level would they come in and attempt to influence something? And, you know, because you'd imagine that they'd do it at some point. Would it be at 10 subs? Would it be at 100? Would it be at 1,000?
I think so.
10,000?
Well, it depends on the
50,000?
circumstances. It depends on the circumstances. I mean, you might be offered, you might be made an offer you can't refuse to become a secular Quranist, and then
Holy shit, Claire.
if it's £100,000, for example, you'd probably say yes, wouldn't you?
I don't think it's as explicit as being offered money in a paper bag. I think people can
That would
seek
work a
to
treat.
gain
That would work a
influence
treat.
over you.
Yeah, they think, oh well, and then if you said you were secular Quranist, that would be, kind of a shudder of horror amongst the nationalist community. And then, someone might say, well, actually, I agree with Stephen, or I'll fight you because Stephen's a traitor. And then there's, and then there might be an even bigger voice than yours saying, I'm a secular Quranist. And then there'd be a Spartacus moment. I'm a secular Quranist.
Can we just peel you down from off the ceiling for a moment, please? This just sounds fucking unhinged and crazy. I have no idea what you're talking about. I am not a secular Quranist. I never will become one. Okay, so we don't have to even engage this schizo crazy line of reasoning here. Okay. We can just talk in the abstract as to at what point would people try to influence people, and I don't think it's as explicit as like money.
Call. You've been enjoying your super chats, haven't you, Stephen? You fancy quitting your part-time job to do this on a full-time basis?
I could never quit my job, Claire, because I mean, just think of like the amount of super chats that I've ever had in total, which is like under 15 or something. Basically,
well, how
even
about a situation where you don't even have to ask for super chats? You can just carry on and not even acknowledge your audience, and you can even insult them, but we'll still pay you.
Well, there are streamers like that, to be fair. What's David Yorkshire saying here? Let's have a look. Jewish lobby groups were offering $5,000 to go out protesting on behalf of Israel. I wonder how much he calls them autistic right influencers got. Look, it's a valid question, and we're not just blaming everything on Jews or Israel here. There's like I say, there's all kinds of special interest groups, all kinds of people with money who seek to use that money to gain influence and stuff. Like, what if what if the dissident right in the UK is actually controlled opposition? Okay. So, like, this is schizo level territory here, but I'm just saying, I don't entertain this stuff very much. Caveat here, I don't entertain this stuff very much. I'm just spitballing it here. But what if, let's say, Academic Agent and his cronies were some kind of propped up level of controlled opposition, of controlled, what's the word? Like limited hangout. Well then, if that was the case, then something like SJJ, John Rand says SJJ is going schizo from the cube. I promise you I'm not. I don't entertain these things very much. I'm just saying, what if, say, Academic Agent and his crew were propped up some kind of limited hangout funded by either a state level actor or an NGO level actor or a special interest group level actor in order to influence culture, politics, whatever. Well then, at what level, at what point would the people who are then exposing or criticizing or daring to make content that is antagonistic towards them, would then, like, agents from that NGO be sent in to disrupt the people who were doing that? It could happen, couldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In order to save, in order to shore up and protect their limited hangout. So you never know who you're dealing with, really.
You just have to have
And
principles, Stephen. We can talk about your principles. Have you got any? If
oh,
not,
come
would
off
you
it,
like
Claire,
some?
behave. I don't know how to answer that. If you've got the nerve to ask it. Living the Dream says AA's too thick to be an agent, though. Or is he? It is a thought experiment, okay? It is a thought experiment. And the question would be, at what point would somebody seek to come and influence somebody?
All the
Because
time.
if you could spot them at a very early stage, it'd be much more easier, wouldn't it? And you'd either have to spend less, or it'd require less persuasion, like, because at the stage where you barely have any momentum going, just like the promise of somebody helping, giving you a leg up, helping you along, promoting you, or anything like that, could be a way to buy influence and stuff like that. And
you don't have to do everything they say, even if they'd be nice to you, right? I mean, just because they bought you dinner doesn't mean you have to have sex with them, for example. You still have the option of saying no. I mean, obviously, if people are being nice to you, that there might be, an expectation of you to do whatever, but it might be something you'd be quite happy to do anyway, like have sex with them after they bought you dinner, for example.
sounds like you're speaking from experience here, Claire.
Well, I'm thinking as, exchanges of goods and services and favors and all that. So, I mean, and you were saying, how do I know if the person wishing me to do something means well for me? That's your question, isn't it? That's your unstated question.
Well, not necessarily that. I imagine that somebody could come whether people have ulterior motives, basically.
Yes. So, how can you tell? I mean, I suppose for me, it would be, well, do I want to do it? And is it against my principles? And the thing is, if you don't have principles, Stephen, then you won't know how to decide. That is your problem. I mean, I have principles. Everybody knows what they are, even, without asking me. They sort of know that in such and such a situation, Claire would do X and not Y or whatever. But about you, well,
Yeah, but if
for
I ask
you,
you to
in your
name
case,
them,
nobody knows what your principles are.
if I ask you to name them, you're just going to give me what are in effect platitudes. You're going to say truth, logic, and morality, which are just platitudes, really.
How is it platitudinous? Because
Well,
basically,
I believe in truth, logic, and morality is a difficult one because then we're going to get into the autistic weeds of, well, where do you get your morality from? So that's a very difficult one to
yeah,
answer.
which you're not going to discuss. But I mean, this is the job of political philosophers in academia to be to discuss. But they're not doing their job, and we're left on our own to, in the weeds, as you say. But
I aim for truth and logic. Okay, I obviously I'm not a logician. Obviously, I'm not like an intellectual philosopher capable of processing all the fucking logic of every special thing, and so I'll get things wrong and stuff like that. But I aim to be reasonable, to be truthful, to be honest. I'm aghast when I discover that somebody has been deliberately dishonest or deceptive. It makes my skin crawl.
that you might have been subject to their influence. But
No, when I
mean,
discover that somebody has been deliberately deceitful to me, it instantly makes my skin crawl. I find it
yes.
on like
Nobody wants
a
to be deceived.
visceral level.
Nobody wants to be, and to think that we have been deceived is even more horrible. That not only did somebody try, but they succeeded. And whether or not we are deceived is to do with our ability to categorize information. Now, over Christmas, I was discussing the epistemology, which is, I know you will think is a pretentious term, because it's basically theory of knowledge. And I think that this is actually an important topic which can be explained in a simple way. So in a non-pretentious way, in fact. So, I mean, in terms of information, we basically we just want to know if what we know, what the information given to us is true or not true. And how do we do this? That it's a philosophical exercise, isn't it?
Well, I look for empirical data, I would say. Obviously, I'm not an expert at this kind of stuff, but I would like evidence before I believe something. And I tend to do this. So anybody who thinks that, like, somebody like Vincent who was on here 15 minutes ago and accuses me of just like believing all like the things that Thomas comes out with. I don't, okay? I don't. I look at things on an evidential basis, okay?
But I mean, that's the thing about Thomas. I'm saying that it doesn't matter what he says, whether you believe him or not, because he cannot and he must not be taken seriously, and we are wasting time just by discussing him. And
look,
this is what anybody who wants to disrupt political activism will be doing, to make us waste our time talking about people whose views don't matter.
Look, it's up to anybody whether they want to watch somebody like Thomas or not. I wasn't saying that to throw Thomas under the bus, okay, or to deride his views on various things. I wasn't saying it for that reason.
He has no serious views on anything other than the generalized disgust and self-loathing.
No, he has theories about conspiracies and stuff. What I'm saying is I might not necessarily believe them, okay, but that doesn't mean I disbelieve them. I am open to stuff like this. The truth is, I'm not very interested in many of the particular ones that Thomas talks about, and therefore I'm willing to just like say, okay, oh, just like acknowledge, okay, you've looked into it far more than me. You could be right on that, and I'm not that interested in challenging
It's a waste
somebody
of time.
upon it.
It's like if you want comedy, go and entertain yourself watching comedy. And because he is this
Well, everybody
mixed
has
bag.
He's not a waste of. Look, again, I'm
Of
being
course he
forced
is.
into
What has he done
defending
other than to
TBR.
waste your time and make you giggle a bit?
What he's done
Has he said anything at all worth remembering? I mean, what? He can go on about 9/11, done by the Jews, and go on about Rothschilds. But has he actually said anything? He fills me with self-loathing. And I'm not even ill or white. It's like, it's just disgusting.
Claire, this is typical you to talk shit. This is typical you to talk shit about somebody behind their back. He's just been
I'll say it to his face.
come on your channel.
No,
he's just been good enough to come on your fucking perennial.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether he thinks he's so clever that I'm so grateful that he came on.
Look, no, there's something right here that Crash Bandicoot has said.
Now I have to be grateful to him. Do I have to be grateful to him?
It's
yes,
not
you're
about
saying I
being
do have to be grateful to him.
Well, let me think about that. No, I don't mean it like that. I think the truth is somewhere in between here, and something about what Crash Bandicoot said here, and something about what you're saying are both right. And so let me think about that.
We were talking about epistemology. May I continue my point before I forget it?
It sounds a bit boring. It's go on, then we'll talk about this.
So I'm basically saying anything times zero is zero, and I'm saying TBR is this sort of person. So it doesn't matter what he says. It just doesn't matter because nobody will take him seriously, and we shouldn't be wasting our time. But I know you are focused on the entertainment side of this business, because you say about what 20% of what I'm talking about should be about politics. I don't want to waste time entertaining retards who can't be taken seriously either. And if you look at your chat, they are losers who can't be taken seriously. So you are pandering to low status people and wondering about their opinions. I'm saying, Stephen, you are better than that. And if anybody's after you,
what do you want from me, Claire? What do you want me to do?
I want you to be. No, I want you to take things seriously, like a man.
I do take things seriously.
And I do. So, and if you're going to be serious, we have to discuss morality.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But it'll bore your brain dead audiences. And I'm saying, screw them. They don't
Claire,
have to.
what? No, because simply put, what are you going to do? This like fucking conjecture where, look, the problem which like Jay Dyer pulls out of his fucking arsehole every time he does a debate where, whoa, look, unless you believe in fucking the actual Bible, then where do you get your morality from? You don't get it from anywhere, therefore it's subjective, therefore I win the debate. Ha ha!
I don't do things like that.
Checkmate, atheist, blah, 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 blah.
I didn't do things like that. I'm agnostic.
Well, you are. That's basically the point that you were attempting to pull out from between your sphincter, wasn't it? You're going to come at me, and where are you going to get your morality from? It's got to come. If you don't use a religious text, then...
I already defined morality. Morality is a system of rules designed to keep the group in existence and apart from others. Are you going to disagree with me on that?
But the fundamental point that underlines it all is that you're going to say to me, unless you get your morality written down in stone from one of the religious texts, then it's subjective. Therefore, you lose the debate, isn't it? That's
I'm saying if you want to be choosing a form of morality, you're going to choose the best one around, right? You're not going to choose, some, cult that nobody's heard of, or if they have, they think it's a bit weird and stupid. You know, you actually want, you know, what we all want is respectability, the feeling that we're good and safe and nice people, and we deserve our good fortune. That, you know, all the stuff that comes with self-esteem under the, you know, Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? That's kind of what everyone is aiming for, good or bad.
I zoned out whilst you were saying that. Can you summarize it in a sentence?
I am saying people want to feel good and safe, and they have various ideas for getting what they want. So some people turn to crime and fraud. Others want to, you know, do it properly.
This doesn't sound like a morality. How you get your morality, though. You either get your morality from a book, don't you, or it's subjective. So let's deal with that first, Claire. Are you getting yours from a book, or do you admit it's subjective?
It's a combination of the two. So if you get it from a book and you think, yeah, I really agree that there should be laws against murder and theft and, you know, whatever, then it's sort of, but I agree with this thing, so I'm going to choose it. I mean, it's always a combination of the two, isn't it?
You see, the problem for me is that I don't get it from a book, okay? Because fundamentally, I just believe that all that shit was made up. Whether there is some, like, deeper fabric, I accept we can't explain where the universe fucking came from. And therefore, that's an enigma. And therefore, like, the compelling answer to that is, well, like, there's some deep supernatural cause to it, and that thing might as well be God, and therefore you can't understand any of it. And
No, Jews are the crucial.
Let me just finish. Let me finish. And therefore it could be supernatural in origin, and therefore that kind of is deism. But I kind of reject, just out of hand, the words that were written in these books as just the creations of madmen, as poetic and wonderful as they might be, and as many inherent truths they might have recorded at the time, back when they wrote them, but still just the writings of men attempting to put, like, these ideas down into words. Now,
sorry, you haven't finished, so please carry on.
Now the problem comes, therefore, with morality. What does morality to mean to somebody like me, then, who is just here like this thing, this kind of self-deciding organism in the world, okay, with free will in the world? Where on earth does he get his morality from? And the question comes, like, the morality inside my own head, and it's basically built up of, would I like that thing being done to me or not? How would I feel if somebody did that towards me? But I absolutely recognize that is a flawed,
it's not enough
way to gain your morality, okay, because you can be subjectively manipulated into want various different kinds of wants, or be or disregard things that, and get things wrong, fumble your way through the world, and commit various wrongs. But that's what it comes down to with me, and I struggle to explain it, so I just did a fucking very bad job of explaining it too.
You were talking about the golden and silver rule, were you not? Because you were talking about were you talking about doing unto others as you would they do unto you? You know, you I guess you were saying you wouldn't like. Okay.
I wouldn't like to be stolen from, therefore I don't steal.
That's right.
That kind of thing.
This principle of reciprocity, and the silver rule is, what you hate, do not do unto others. But the golden rule is, do unto others as you would they do unto you. But the idea of reciprocity is the same. But what if you like 6 teaspoons of sugar in your tea, Should you give, when you make tea for someone, give them the 6 teaspoonfuls of sugar? Maybe not. So a rule has to be established when you ask them, how would you like your tea? It's that kind of an idea. We have rules to regulate our behavior, to avoid, misunderstandings, upsets, confusion, and that sort of thing. And of course, this relies on rules. And we're not talking about just one rule, we're talking about a whole bunch of rules. And to make it easier for us to decide, there are basically 5 big group rules, i.e. the 5 world religions that have principles. Yes. And they're basically the same. They sort of say, yeah, we shouldn't kill, steal, blah blah blah, and the additional condition of religion is that there is a promise of an afterlife, which also has an important psychological effect on the believer. And the purpose of instilling belief in people is to get them to do certain things that they might not wish to do, such as give up their lives and property and risk stuff to defend principles. And that's why moral principles are well, you can't defend principles if you don't have them. You would know where to start. And I think this is your problem, the problem of Western man. If you don't have principles, you won't be able to defend them. And when you don't defend them, people will just keep attacking you. They will advance the further you retreat. And that's why most people have religion, because I'm sure it's happened, before in other civilizations. What happens when men don't have principles or don't defend them, and they just get taken over. So it's, as I see it, it's just a kind of mechanical problem. I'm sort of saying, well, you want to fill your bath up, you better put the bath plug in, and if you don't put the bath plug in, your bath will never fill up. And as for knowing who to trust, obviously you can compare your principles with the other person's principles, and if they sort of agree, they might it might be a good idea to trust them. And if they completely disagree with your principles, that they must be your ideological enemy, and you can't trust them. Even if they come, bearing
I'm zoning
gifts.
out. I must admit, I'm zoning out while you're talking. It's just like word salad to me. I'm not going to lie, Claire, but it's just being brutally honest.
All right, let's see if anybody understands what I'm saying.
Can anybody give me the two-word summary?
John Vance is there, so.
John Vance, what's the 2-word summary of what Claire Core just said? Can you help me out? By the way, this would be a great time for everybody to give the stream a thumbs up. We're asking for the thumbs ups in chat. Come on, you pesky kids. Why are you so reluctant to hand out a thumbs up? We don't do this for free, Well, we do actually, but... theoretical nonsense. Look, this is people's... David Yorkshire says it's understandable.
It's ununderstandable.
It's understandable. Look,
he's a pagan, so we can dismiss anything he says. But somebody is saying that
why can we? Come on, why can we dismiss anything he says because he's a pagan?
Because he's a pagan.
Why? Because he doesn't get it from the Abrahamic book.
He's so
I've just said
idiotic.
I don't. I just said I think that was man-made too, Claire.
Yes.
You do too. You also do. Let's admit it.
No. I was going to talk about the Jews, which might make it.
Yeah, but now you're going into the abstract. You're going into the abstract to like.
Of course, it's all abstract.
Deflect.
No, I'm not.
You're going to deflect
anything.
again. Like,
I'm not
if
deflecting
people
anything.
believe this and that, rather than
No, I haven't. Did I
admitting yes.
say anything about believing in anything? I didn't say anything. I didn't say you have
Exactly.
to
So
believe
you
in
think
X, Y, or
you think
Z.
it's you think it's utilitarian to
Mhm.
give people a fucking set of rules written down
Mhm.
in the year dot, and to put this policeman in their heads so that they
Mhm.
follow them, and you think
Mhm.
that this is all utilitarian,
Mhm.
and the one that is most impactful is the one that's used by most people. It's the Abrahamic set.
Mhm.
You probably pick Islam because it's the most fucking brainwashing of the lot.
Well, it's the only one that's working. It's the only one that you're scared of. It's the only one that will protect you against the Jews.
God forbid.
Why do you say God forbid when your name
Because your
is?
implication was, therefore, because you're an anti-Semite and I'll protect you from the Jews.
Well,
So
I
I'm
mean,
saying
a
God
lot of
forbid.
your viewers fear and hate Jews, and they're kind
Well,
of
they
looking
build
at you
up Jews to
funny.
be like the Superman. They build up like the Jewish Superman in their heads. Okay, and in many ways you can't blame them for doing that.
Because
It's kind
they're
of
so
perfectly
stupid.
natural. It's
I
kind of
mean,
perfectly natural for them to do this when they, they
because
get
they're
red pilled.
peasants.
You get red pilled about things. You discover, like that, rich people run things. Let's call them.
Yeah, and they think all Jews are rich, and anyway, they never like them. So they think we never
And
like
then
those people. But why don't we just blame them for everything? When we stub our toe, when any little thing goes wrong, we all just blame them. It's so easy, but actually, they're wasting their time blaming Jews because every time they blame Jews, they could be solving the problem themselves. I mean, everything's going wrong because
well,
you've
that's a
got a
little
shit religion
far-fetched.
that you
Okay.
don't believe in, and the Jews
Oh,
are
here we
too
go. Here we
afraid to
go.
tell you it's a shit religion.
By the way, oh
You can kick me off if you want.
no, that's fine. That's fine. Look, you see, I expect it from you too. I think what people want me to do is to give you like forceful pushback, and I'm going to say, Claire, that's outrageous. But the truth is, for people who are listening, that obviously I'm not super attached to like Christianity anyway, so I can like just let Claire get these jabs in.
Well, the thing is,
I
you,
don't
you, you
know.
can't
It's
take
all a mess, isn't
idolatry
it?
seriously. So that's another problem.
Why should I?
Because there are actually
I
practical
think
problems. You
Buddhists are.
don't even have to.
I think Buddhists are cool.
Yeah, but I mean, do you want your countrymen to be like Thailand, pimping your women out to sex tourists? I mean, do you want that? I mean, the Katoi, the ladyboys come from Thailand. I mean,
Obviously, I don't want ladyboys promoted and stuff like that. Obviously, I have
but
natural,
that's at
like,
the extreme.
immediate disgust of that kind of thing.
But I mean, so
But I don't.
these ladyboys can be very pretty and talented.
How does one like infer the other? The fact that Buddhists are
Well,
cool.
I mean, I
Okay, they
can't
can have
forget
their
what John
stuff.
said. What John said about
Well, he's not a Buddhist.
No, he was what he said about transgender women. So he was saying that the transgender woman who is really a man is so invested in being feminine that he will just be feminine, and he's saying this kind of femininity is more pleasing to him as a man than the femininity of an actual woman, a real woman with sex organs. And I
Yes,
thought,
that is alarming. That is crazy. the answer to that is that's obviously part of a sexual perversion. Obviously, John is like an incel who went through the incel rage. Somehow he's come out the other end twisted and like made up again into some kind of, I don't know, perverted freak. God forbid. Or something. Just being honest here, John. Just being honest here. Or maybe you just had like these repressed emotions, or like this was like your sexuality before, and you're like
Do you
holding it back or
think?
something. I don't know.
Do you think John really believes in God, or is he just sort of veering from one extreme position to another as a way of getting attention? I don't think he believes in God. Do you?
Claire, I think that most people at this stage don't. They have like a deist, at the most, they have like a deist view that they can't answer this question of where did we come from, and so just like me, that therefore is compelling to you in your mind. It's compelling. Okay, it means that science doesn't have all the answers. They might be wrong about a lot of things, including our fucking origins. Either way, even if you accept science and it was the Big Bang, then what happened? What was there before? Because science tells us that energy can't be created nor destroyed, and therefore it must have come from somewhere. But either that's wrong, or there was something before.
None
there
of that
wasn't
matters.
something before. Do you see what I mean? There's contradiction in that. So therefore that implies some kind of supernatural origin. But the question to me, therefore, is if that's God, then who made God, basically? And so it's God's all the way down
The
at that
uncaused
point.
first cause is quite an old idea.
Well, no, because
To avoid the situation of infinite regression, asking who made whoever. It's like, well, let's just assume for the purpose of this argument that there was an uncaused first cause, and that was God. And let's just admit that this is what we're arguing about, instead of pretending it's something else. And then we might ask ourselves, well, is this God the Abrahamic God? And then, I guess a theist would say, well, who else would it be? Have you got a better idea? No. Do you have another story?
Yeah, just the idea that everything needs a cause could be wrong, okay? And the answer that you use to explain this thing that everything needs to have a cause or whatever, this idea of God being the uncaused first cause, is just contradictory in itself. It doesn't fully answer the question.
Yeah, no, but the idea, okay, we all want to pretend that even if we
either
don't know
everything
ourselves,
needs a cause
we know
or it
somebody
doesn't.
who does. Who's our friend?
Yeah, but either everything needs a cause or it doesn't. Or we can put that same thing put into scientific language is energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It's just the same thing. One's in scientific jargon and the other one is in your philosophical jargon. A cause needs a cause. In scientific jargon, it's energy can neither be created nor destroyed.
So, the Big Bang, was it an act of creation? It was a creation of the universe, was it not?
When you say an act of creation, you're implying
that something caused it.
But you're implying. We don't know is the answer. How the fuck do I know? You're asking SJJ that for the answer to the universe. Holy shit.
And the theists will say, we know who did it, we know who caused it, and your scientists will be silent because you can't say.
Well, where did God come from?
He was the uncaused first cause. Well, why do you have a problem with that?
Because it's just bullshit. It's not good enough.
Why is it
not good enough.
Why is it bullshit?
It's not good enough. It's not a good enough answer because it's insufficient. It's insufficient to explain things. It's a cope is what it is. The uncaused first cause. Well, where did it come from? Well, no, it's always been. How? Explain it.
There's no need to explain it because
leave your cope there.
You're actually happy with the idea that God caused. the Big Bang and created the universe, or you're not. And you're not, obviously. So why aren't you happy with the idea? You want a better idea. What is it?
No, I find it insufficient. It's as insufficient as the accepted science on it that there was a Big Bang.
Why would
Neither
you, a
one
mere
knows what
mortal,
happened
expect to
before.
know how the universe was created? Or why
I
would you?
I accept that everything. I accept that we can measure what looks like the redshift of the universe, and when we plot this on a graph, okay, when we take readings, because I did it in A-level physics, when we take readings, well, we don't take the readings, we get the readings given to us by astronomers, but then when we plot them on a graph, we can plot distance over time, and then we plot the do like a scatter graph of all these distances over time and redshift, and then you plot the thing, and the line graph goes all the way down and intersects the x-axis at a certain point about like 14 and some billion years ago, and therefore this is the explanation that we say that therefore all the matter that is visible in the universe must have been in one particular point, like exactly one particular point, like in a pinhole point at some point 14 billion years ago and a bit. Therefore, we say that by measurement and observation, that means that everything had a beginning point. They call this the Big Bang because they know the explanation for this. They can't explain where it all came from, though. Just like people who say God clicked his fingers and did it, don't have an explanation for, well, what was going on beforehand. And here's the link for John Vance in the chat if he wants to come on and change the topic now.
I think people are happy with sort of simple explanations that they can tell their children, but it's not good enough.
They might
for
be
you.
happy with it. No, it is insufficient though. Can't you appreciate that it is insufficient? John
If
Vance
there
is
was
here.
creation, there must have been a creator.
Hail John Vance, leader of Canadian Muslim converts and now apostates of Canada.
Hello, people. How are y'all doing?
Great,
Okay,
John.
so I've been listening to your show, SJJ, and I
Yes.
just want to say that I'm actually a good faith listener, and
Thank you, John.
and you know, I have points that I've thought about deeply before, and so the concept of God or where we came from, no one can actually pontificate where humans came from. Like, we didn't come from evolution. We didn't come from a molecule. We came from somewhere we don't know where. And so I'll get that out of the way. Second part I like to get out of the way is the interpretation of the Abrahamic text in terms of one believes in God or not. I do believe in a higher God, for the record, but I do not subscribe to any of the three Abrahamic faiths: Christianity, Muslim, Islam, and Judaism. The reason why is that these books are heavily edited, but there is spiritual truth in all of them. And I think that we can interpret them in a honest way as opposed to getting diverted into different agendas that don't really serve anybody's higher purpose.
So you're a deist, aren't you? You think
what's
there's
the
a higher
definition of
power?
that?
So it means
A
that
deist, a deist.
you believe that like some supernatural entity is at the heart of creation, or it undermines reality, and so there's like some level of understanding God.
And it does interact with human history. Yes, I do believe that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like where most people are, as I understand it. I think most people are like this.
Yeah. So Claire, when she says, like, you know, you don't believe in God, it's just basically her interpretation of the Abrahamic text of the Quran, specifically the Quran. That's from my interactions with Claire. So
I'm,
that's
I'm
probably
talking about the Abrahamic God. Do you not believe in the Abrahamic God?
well, you have
I
you
might have the term wrong anyway.
no. The context of what you're saying is that your interpretation of the Abrahamic texts, which come from supposedly the Abrahamic God, which is actually from a burning bush, a jealous God, a God that punishes people for having wrong thoughts. That God, I don't believe in that God.
So what kind of God do you believe in?
I believe that there is an oversoul that actually has mercy and forgiveness, even no matter how bad. Even the prodigal son, when the prodigal son talks about going out in the world and gaining experience, and
John,
doing things like
John, you're a Christian then, dude. You're a Christian,
no,
really?
no.
You're a Protestant.
So basically, like, I don't like using these labels. Like I've said this in my
But
video.
you are, I
I
suppose.
don't like using these labels of like Christian, Muslim. No one's called me a Jew yet. Well, actually, people have called me Jew. So
But like
Judaism,
having
whatever, right?
faith
Like
and
no. Just because I
getting
reference
redemption
like
in the
biblical
afterlife.
or Islamic references, that doesn't make me like for me to be a spiritual being, I don't need to have a label. I don't need to be part of a club. I don't need to be because I'm Christian or a Muslim or whatever, right? That's the problem. That's your intellectual trap, is that you fall in the traps of this world. It's a God of this world. It's a burning bush. You guys are talking about a burning bush God who's a jealous God who will smite you for anything that is perceived it doesn't like. And all these texts have been manipulated by the Catholic Church, and I'm going to say it, the tiny hat scholars, for their own agenda. These like ancient elite, they manipulate people over time to go to wars and punish people. You know what I mean? So for me, like,
all right, take a breath.
Okay,
take a breath.
All right.
So when I said, John, you're a Christian, therefore, obviously, like Springheel came in here and said he doesn't accept Jesus Christ, then he's not a Christian if he doesn't. That's fair enough.
That comes from the Council of Nicaea. That comes from the Council of Nicaea of the cross of the persecuted God.
When I said you're a Christian, what I mean is like you have to appreciate just how much like Christianity has infected all kind of thought. Okay, and even I've seen this in Buddhism. There's like in Mahayana Buddhism there, and like Amitabha Buddhism. There's like entire sects of Buddhism that don't realize that basically they have like a Christianized religion going on, where they're like expecting forgiveness in an afterlife for sins committed on earth. This kind of thing. These ideas are fundamentally like a Christian understanding that's then gone on and just like infected people's worldview. And you might not necessarily believe in a historical Jesus, or you might believe that all the Bible was written by men, but your kind of understanding of God and how like the laws of this kind of spiritual realm that you think intertwines the universe works is fundamentally kind of infected by a form of Christianity.
I agree with you on that. Yes. Like the Revelation in Genesis. Yes, that's very powerful. And I said this even when I was Muslim. Like there's a lot of information in the Bible that shouldn't be discarded. Revelation, going through the horsemen of the apocalypse and actually reading it and interpret it from a proper lens, as opposed to a Judeo-Christian lens. You could see that we already been through the first horseman, which is basically, a horse trying to take over the world, and I don't know. I can get esoteric about it, but basically, making people do stuff, whatever, right? Do a Britney Spears concert, But anyway, I won't get into that. But people can check on my channel. But I guess what I just wanted to go on here is I just wanted to go on to kind of Claire Kaw and how she thinks that she's a serious person, and that she has been
John, that's it.
she
Let's
has
get with the
been- she
fire
has been
now.
quoted as promoting gangbangs. And
Here we go, everyone.
and so that's probably why the chat wants me up here right now. Is that I'm
Let's
a voice for
go.
the chat. I'm a voice for the people. Yeah. So Claire, so how do you reconcile this? Because I think like what I think you're like a gaslighter, and you like to gaslight people a lot onto what
Define
your position
gaslight.
is. Yeah, you do gaslight.
Define gaslight. Give an example of being gaslit.
Because you have contradictory positions. Like you kind of come across as this kind of like, I guess you could say fundamentalist in some way, but then you'll say something like, well, maybe we should you'll be caught saying, maybe we should organize gangbangs or have like a whorehouse or whatever. But it just seems like you kind of like,
I'm just following.
You come across as a disingenuous political actor who wants to grift off of her sales of her books. So and I get like you kind of have this kind of Quranic interpretation of the law and stuff like that, and I agree with you on some sense, but I guess in another sense, like organizing gangbangs, I don't know how that would be.
I didn't say that, did I? You miss.
Well, you hang out with Vincent, who is gay and advocates for the no-hide laws. Is this like how could you like be like a serious person? Like how could you be like someone who's serious, right? Like obviously like
she's
like
desperate,
you're around
John.
people
She's desperate.
You're around people.
Vincent's the only one who'll take her seriously.
Yeah. So basically like she's around people who actually do things. And then you kind of like try to subvert them with your weird secular kind of like word salad of like Sharia, because you're like, well, like what is your authority, Claire? What is your authority? Do you have like actual bar license? Like you even said yourself that you are a lawyer who interprets the Quran, so therefore my interpretation is correct. But you don't even believe in a monotheist Abrahamic God. You even said yourself you're agnostic. So what authority do you have? You don't even have a bar license to practice law. You haven't actually been in the courtroom. You haven't prosecuted anybody. You haven't defended anybody. So why would even the court even listen to any of your arguments? You have no courtroom experience. It is a fraud. You are a fraud.
I'm not trying to get the attention of the court. I'm not trying to have.
Yes, you have. You have in the past. That's a lie. You have actually written to the Supreme Court justices before. You even sent me articles about it. About trying to you just lie. You're disingenuous. I have the messages.
Okay,
I could probably, but like that's beside the point. But that's why anybody. That's why anybody that comes in contact with you can't take you seriously and just realizes for the fraud that you are, because you have no foundation. You don't actually believe in what you're saying. You give up your position when you say you're agnostic. You don't actually believe in what you're saying. You have no conviction whatsoever. You're just another internet shill on the internet, LARPing as a Sharia enforcer. But then in the next breath you say, "Oh, I'm agnostic," and "Oh, I'm flirting with gangbangs or whatever." I don't know. Like this is like you're not a serious person.
He doesn't want an answer.
All right, John. Let Claire answer to the chat for crimes.
Whatever you think of me, I'm the only one with a solution. That's why I don't have. Who else has a better solution? Do you have a better solution?
Why are we even talking about solutions right now? I'm talking about your credentials.
Yes, and my credential is that I have a solution and that nobody else does.
That's not a credential. People say they have solutions to many things.
Okay,
I can go to the homeless person and say, "Hey, do you have a solution to degeneracy in the West?" "Oh yeah, sure. like, so that makes him credible now, the bum on the street, because he's credible because he has a solution. Does anybody
I
that
have a
walks
book.
up onto
I
here,
have a book.
are you saying
Have you
no,
read
no,
one?
I'm holding you
Have
to
you read
that
the
point.
book?
I'm being honest. I'm holding you to that point. I'm holding your feet to the fire to that point right now. Are you
All
saying
right.
that anybody that has a solution is a credible source of
Yes,
information?
yes.
Wow,
Provided
that's
they can explain it coherently.
no. You said a solution.
Okay,
Anybody
so
can have a solution.
yeah. Okay, so tell me the other solutions. Let's
you know
see
what?
the other
It's
competing
kind of funny
solutions.
how you kind of like when you sidestepped my accusations that you're not an actual lawyer, and that you used the argument before because I studied to be a lawyer, that therefore I have the correct legal interpretation of
There
the
may be
Quran, but you've never
better
actually.
qualified
So
people.
so what?
There
So
may be
what?
better
Like,
qualified people. But
yeah.
so
So
name
that's
them.
why
So
you
name
went to the
them.
court, and
Oh,
then the court didn't
Name
listen to
them.
any of your
Name these
arguments,
better people with their better solutions.
and so basically, like, you just you lied and say, oh, I haven't done in the court, but
Lied
you've
about
actually
what?
done that. You've
Lied
actually
about
done
what?
that before.
Lied
You've
about what?
actually applied. You actually written to the Supreme Court to say if secular Quranism is the best legal system, and then they just ignored you because it's nonsense. Just like everyone else says it's nonsense. There's the high up people are not going to respond. They're not even going to give you the time of day to listen to your nonsense. You should be honored that anybody even talks to you or anyone
Okay,
takes
well,
the time out to do these like
let's see.
funny kind of trolls like Pablo Muncher. Like,
Okay.
you should
Have
be
we got a
honored
better
right now,
solution?
Claire. You should be honored that anyone even takes the
I am
time out
honored.
of their
I am
day
honored.
to make up funny characters to troll you, Claire.
okay. Right.
Let's have your solution or any solution.
Right. Rather than just we get it. Claire is she came up with this fucking idea to get attention in when was it, Claire?
2009.
2009. She gave it a branding idea, and she decided to go and pester Muslims.
Isn't that the same? Like when the alt-right,
these wonderful white men cannot think of anything better. After all this time,
let me give you
and they can't
for
come
a long
up with
time.
anything. Fucking pathetic. Anything else?
Okay. For a long time.
You can't even address any of my arguments, so you just
hold on.
I've
for a long
already
time.
addressed your arguments. You can't
Let
find
me
any.
just
haven't addressed
But if
any
my
of
idea
hold
is
on.
shit, you can't find anything
credentials.
better.
Hold
You
on.
haven't.
Calm down. We're supposed to be white
Very
civilized
subjective.
people here.
Very
And
subjective.
Claire.
This is what
Look.
Speaker's Corner is like, SJJ.
Speaker's Corner's been infected by Muslims. It's just full of Muslims. They've taken it over and excluded the white man, basically.
Well, why don't you just go in there?
If you go to Speaker's,
and speak.
if you go to
Why don't
Speaker's
you
Corner
just-
now, you're terrified
Why
of
don't
getting
you go in
stabbed,
there?
basically.
You're not going to get stabbed.
Well,
Why do you
John,
say that?
just because I do kickboxing doesn't mean that I'm invulnerable to a knife. You realise that, don't you?
What? Why are you scared to go in there?
I'm not scared to go there, but it has been taken over by agitating Muslims.
It's a long way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, for very little reason. You go there and you just.
Well,
you're
it'd be
just
good content for
confronted.
your streaming.
No, it wouldn't. I don't think
Yeah,
it's
it
good
would.
content at all. It's not. Just
It would.
Bradford
Why don't,
accented
why don't
Muslims.
why don't like the white man, like, if this is like, as I realize the stream I'm on right now, the audience I'm talking to, and no, I'm not an activist, I'm not doing this anymore, but this is just my suggestion, is like, why don't the white man actually talk to like a non-white person about their issues with the government and their demographic replacement, like a respectable non-white, not just any non-white.
What do you mean?
There's
What do you mean?
there's like this one Muslim that always wants me to do like I forget his name. What was his name?
Khalid?
I think so, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm not associating myself.
Who cares what they want? Who cares what they want, John? At the end of the day, they want to conquer and impose Islam upon you. So in some level, there's no negotiating, or it's like pseudo negotiating anyway.
Would you die for your I I just almost feel like it'd be an honor to die as a martyr, as opposed to just living on your knees and hiding.
As a martyr for what?
As a martyr for your Christian beliefs and against dogmatism, against false interpretations.
Look, the word martyr has been much misinterpreted.
Why
really.
don't
if
you
you're
be
a martyr,
for
you
your
kind of
nation?
inspire great change. No, but
be a real
you don't know
patriot
that you're
and
going to
talk
do
to
that.
somebody. Why? Because your audience is too racist?
I don't know what you're suggesting, John. Where do you want me to go and die? How do you want me to
I'm
die?
not even saying. I'm just saying, just work up the courage to talk to somebody who has actual, like, intellectual capabilities. I know you look at all non-white people as dregs in some subconscious way, but like,
Absolutely not.
It would give
Absolutely
you
not.
more
Just a
reach.
minute
It would
here.
give you more reach and more respectability if you actually reached out to some of these communities and actually like stated your case and saying, hey, like, I'm a nationalist, and then like they'll probably respect
So
you.
I'm
They might
not
disagree with you.
I'm not a political actor. I'm just here on the internet, just having fun, basically, John.
Oh, okay.
If somebody wants to invite me onto their show,
okay.
maybe I'll go on. Like Khalid, that Khalid guy invited me onto his Muslim show. I went on. I'm not afraid to go on.
Okay.
Luke Ford's invited me onto his Jew show. I've been on.
Yeah, but that's okay. I get what you're saying. But like, why don't you have like a Muslim guest on your show? Who is not?
I've got one right here.
I'm not even Muslim.
No, I'm the other one.
Oh,
she
Claire?
ticks both boxes. She's non-white and she's a Muslim.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess you kind of see the point of the world, so I commend you for that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you did do activism, didn't you?
Me? No.
Yeah.
I don't do activism. No.
But you did,
no.
though. You're a former activist?
Nope.
I thought you were.
No. Not really. No, nothing to speak of. John, before you go, then.
I've overstayed my welcome, I realized.
No, before you go.
Okay.
Can we just talk about just briefly what we talked about before? Were you serious about the things that everybody now wants to know about, which is like your incel to tranny chaser pipeline? Were you serious about that, or is this some kind of LARP that you're playing on Telegram, basically?
A LARP? I didn't know she was transgender.
Yeah, but when you did, you
didn't know she was transgender.
Yeah, but John, when it was discovered, you then doubled down into it and said, "Oh, well, okay, great. They're more feminine than real women anyway, and XYZ. So more exciting for me."
I think my trans revelation has done more has more effect than Claire Kaw's secular Quranism of the years, which is kind of a sad thing. And sorry, SJJ, I don't want to like bring it up like, oh, I'm a LGBT, like I'm obsessed with like sex or whatever. That's not really how real trannies work. Like they're actually real well articulate, and they're actually feminine, and then they actually they have standards. They're not just like, they don't believe in like 10 million genders or something like that. So I think people are like, well, maybe John, you should do like a blog or whatever about like dating a transgender. I was like, maybe it's ongoing. It was something I didn't expect to really be public, but
Okay, so the answer is yes.
I got into some revelations. I got into some revelations, and I think we all have some sort of latent homosexuality. That's all I'm gonna say. I could say some more things, more enlightening things. I could probably save that for the Cube or another show, but I think the
Yeah.
incel tranny pipeline is real, and I think there is feminine women out there that, men that they would prefer to have a peaceful partner as opposed to a nagging partner, and a partner who would, uh, you know, would take their kid, have a kid with them, and then take them away in a divorce. I think there's like legal kind of motivation for that, to have a transgender as opposed to a biological woman. So it's kind of like a rational thing too. It's like a
It's
legal,
rational. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. It's a
You
rational.
you've reasoned yourself into this position. Well, that's fascinating and wonderful to hear,
And I
John.
think,
Of
you know what,
course.
Claire uses this as like a reach for her, like her desperate reach to remain relevant. So I think like that's why I don't want to talk about her on your show too much, because then she'll use that to reach like, oh well, you have to be secular Quranist. Like no serious person would. I guess it's not a serious show, so anyway.
Look,
I'm just thinking.
John,
I still have a mind of an activist. I apologize.
that's fine. So, yeah, look, if you're into the men who have now become ladies, we'd like to validate that here on the SJJ show and say that that's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Very inclusive and progressive and whatever you
All right,
say.
thanks, John. Been real.
Okay. Peace.
Holy shit, Claire. How are you?
That was intense.
It was
Tinged with
intense.
hysteria.
We have another guest. Do you want to see who it is?
Go on then.
Hello, Brick.
Oh, all right. Am I on?
You're on.
Oh, greetings. Nice to meet you, Steve. I've been listening for like 2 weeks. Introduced by TBR himself.
Thank you. I'm sure you're thrilled with what you hear here on the SJJ show.
I mean, whatever. You got to take what you get on your guest list.
Yeah,
but
it's an eclectic show.
I gotta say, I'm interested in TBR. I wonder how long you've been listening to that dude. Like back to 2016, 17, or earlier or later?
Yeah, so, maybe something like that, yeah. Certainly
I
well
feel
before
like
COVID.
I got tipped off to him by AIU. I think he like...
Did he do a video about
the
him?
kangaroo guy?
Yeah,
He did.
atheism is
TBR did
unstoppable.
a stream. I must have found TBR on my own, but not really watched him. And then he did this thing, like the people he hates the most or something. It was like a New Year's thing, probably 5-6 years ago. And oh yeah, I see someone saying you're the TBR guy. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm typecast. It is what it is.
Who cares? Whatever. It's better than being typecast as the guy who's looking for a tranny wife. Not
Yeah,
that
we
there's anything wrong
validate
with that.
John's new path.
Well,
We
there's
think
nothing
that's
wrong. If
amazing.
you know, I got because I was just listening, and it's like, wow. I mean, first, full disclosure, I'm a total genetic Jew, so I don't want to subvert anything by not telling you that right away. Yeah, God bless. I mean, I've been,
God bless.
what would you call it, an atheist since I was like a little kid, but you know,
Yep.
I had a bar mitzvah. You got all the pictures and all that stuff, but then I married this Thai chick. So then you're all talking about the lady boys, and I thought it's worth pointing out they're not really into that over there. That's not something that mainstream Thai culture is.
No, it's kept in
enthusiastic
certain
about.
areas. It's in certain
Yeah,
areas.
in pretty much most of it, if your son turns into a lady boy, I think they've done a good job with it. It's kind of like, we don't give a shit. They don't get any special anything. But
Yeah, look, a lot of like Southeast Asians are kind of androgynous when they're young anyway. It's the truth, isn't it?
yeah, if you saw pictures of my wife when she's like 8, I can't disagree.
Yeah.
I didn't know her then, but yeah, but it all turns out well. And I would say if you're in that area, probably find a real chick. I mean, you might as well.
Exactly. Somebody like John, if he went over there, I mean, look, he's a white
You're
guy
totally right.
with connections to Canada. There'd be like, even if they weren't into John just for like physical reasons or whatever, they'd pretend it well enough that they were to like get the Canadian green card or something.
Yeah. I don't understand, but I guess how could I, that someone would actually substitute? You know what I mean? Like that doesn't, I don't follow that thinking. Like, well, they're acting feminine and they won't take your kids. You're not going to have kids, right? Anyway, no, I just wanted to point out
Yeah.
they're not really into that over there. That's kind of, the whole prostitution and all that started in the 60s when we started putting bases over there for the Vietnam War. But before that, it's a highly prude, conservative culture. That is.
Yeah, it's monarchy over there.
Oh yeah. No, I mean that's a whole nother story. It's too bad. The current guy is kind of an embarrassment, but the previous guy really kept that place stable. It looks like from the outside. He didn't have any bad press. But anyway, like I don't want to take your stream over there. With TBR, I'm totally with you.
Yes.
But I'm just the same with religion, where the verse came. Who knows? You know what I mean? We don't know. And that's fine. I'm totally comfortable with mystery, and it's fun. And while Claire pointed out, what have we learned from him really over the last 6 or 7 years? I couldn't think in my head. You know what I've learned though? I've learned about a lot of prevailing conspiracy theories. And, like I've heard him talk about them. And it's not like I think the Rothschilds but it doesn't matter. He's very entertaining. I think there's a lot of genuineness to what the guy's been saying. And I think totally right. He's just, he's hamming it up. And when I did watch the thing live, I think it was live, the thing he did on his other channel where he's Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the cops are after him, right? Or it's the joke and they're not, and he's pretending they are, but we'll wait and see. And, if people are so busy that they don't have time or it's not fun, then obviously who cares? But I've always enjoyed watching that dude's videos when they come out. And, what else am I on YouTube for?
Well, exactly. Look, part of the thing I try and tell Claire is that you have to make this thing entertaining. And if you don't make it entertaining, then people aren't going to listen to you anyway. You're going to be spinning plates to like 5 or 6 people. And so you have to say to yourself, look, if I have a message to get out and I want to influence people, then I have to inject entertainment into it. I mean, look, the you-know-who's know this. That's why they're so good at making films and stuff. Your people are great entertainers, and so...
Disproportionately, but hey, not all. But yeah, sure, that's...
Yeah, but I mean,
watchword.
I mean, everybody knows that Hollywood is was basically put together by the Jews. It's one of their greatest claims to fame. They're great at it. They're great filmmakers, great storytellers. It is effectively it started as Jewish cinema, so to speak, and it built up from there because it was popular and they were so good at doing it.
Yeah, I mean, in 2018, I saw. You remember Andy Worski? That's when this all started.
Course.
He had his stream, I think, with Richard Spencer. And,
holy shit, yeah.
And so, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I watched that and felt like, uh-oh. So, I've heard stuff, like the classic anti-Semitic or whatever you want to call it stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never run into real anything in my life. I grew up around mostly non-Jews people. I mean, which was good, thank God. It's like just grow up with kids who call me Jew boy, but they were my friends. So then you learn that people calling you stuff, it's, I think in England you call it taking the piss. You have to look at how people are acting or treating you. And, if you're in their group and they drop off your stuff when you pass out in a hotel room at your house, they're your friends. And, they call my other friend like the Asian invasion or whatever. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
And if you go, so anyway, that's all I had experienced really, or like people telling me in my employment, I'll get a real Jew from the city if not knowing that I was. Even though I look really Jewish, like way all the way. Like I look like the 1930s propaganda cartoons.
Claire Core's doubting you here. She says you
She's
don't
doubting
sound
it.
like
Well,
a Jew.
am I going to need to
You don't
start?
know what a Jew
I gotta
sounds
need to
like. But...
saying some praying. I sound pretty. I'm talking through my nose, Claire. And if you saw it, you'd know. Anyway, whatever. I'm not going to try to. So maybe I'm not. I'm a subversive non-Jew, pretending to be a Jew, and you can all sort that out. But anyway, so I saw this thing in 2018, and then I started watching Mike Enoch,
Yeah.
and I got alarmed, which I am embarrassed now to admit, but
What,
because I
like
went through.
about the rise of the alt-right and its anti-Semitic bent?
But
Is
there's a
that what
little
you're
bit of a
saying?
distinction there, right? You know, there's obviously
Well,
so
look,
many people.
TRS were outrageously anti-Semitic.
Oh yeah, right. That
Nobody doubts
particular, yeah, that
that. Yeah.
particular.
Mike
That's what I mean
Enoch
when I
and
say I was nervous. Like Richard Spencer seemed kind of more, a little bit softer, you know. But yeah. So watching Mike
no.
Enoch and some of the stuff, I started thinking, wow, like is my kid gonna run into this? Even though he's kind of jungle camo, but still, I was nervous, and I felt like, wow, this has got to be countered. And I started like looking up stuff. I'm like, oh, what are the haven't Jews done anything good? Is it all? But anyway, I wound up finding, like, yeah, as you pointed out, can you blame people for any of these? You know, as you to get to the TRS level, I could blame someone, but not much. I mean, you know, I just would tune them out. But no, obviously there's a problem where I don't know that it's with the Jewish religion or the ethnicity of Jews just getting comfortable in America. I'm not sure, but there's obviously an issue where people get taken out, shut down, all kinds of bad things, you know, called anti-Semites. We got the ADL, all these organizations. So that's obviously a problem. And obviously it would be nice, you know, to hear people, you got to have Jews disowning that, or, you know, coming up with the AADL. But anyways, I got over it though. In 2018, I got over that. But from watching guys like TBR, he just did that stream on Odyssey with the Macedonian guy like a week ago. I don't know if
Yes,
you
with Nick
caught that.
Gilvey. I did.
Sounds right.
Some of
That
it,
sounds
yeah.
right. Yeah. It's a really good talk.
Yeah.
And that's a
Yes.
TBR. I wouldn't have come to that without, you know, following TBR. And yeah, I think that's stuff I like to listen to. I want to hear, and he's had a lot of talks with interesting people, maybe even including yourself over the years. And so I think I learned that the stuff those people have said. And if it turns out he's actually Martin, and what he's describing in his, you know, his Martin video on his other channel, it almost sounded like what I genuinely did sort of go through in 2018. I mean, I didn't like make a fake persona or do anything about it, but I'm not saying I believe that video, but him saying that kind of rang a bell in my mind. Like I do remember encountering stuff in 2018 and thinking, oh my gosh, this is bad. And I hope someone stops it, or I hope it, you know, turns around. And so,
Yeah, so this
it's
goes
somewhat believable. Yeah, go ahead.
This goes into our asking the question then. To what end would like subversive elements or agents of either NGOs, special interest groups, or even state actors get themselves involved like in grassroots social media stuff like what we're involved in?
Well, not like what you're
I mean,
involved
could it?
Anything's
Well,
possible, you know. But I don't think you or TBR or Claire Caw or your buddy John are getting touched by any. You know what I mean?
so
It's
so
not.
the question would be, at what point would it come? Would it come at like 10,000 subs or 20,
It's not
30?
necessarily like, you know. I got a channel with like 250,000
Level of
subs,
influence.
and
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah, I
Have you
used
had
to
the
get
have
just
you had the tap
cartoons.
on the shoulder?
No. I've gotten paid to make a video for some guy's computer game once, which
Mhm.
definitely was not, you know, or I get offers to, you know, make ads for people who make toys that would
But
be compatible in my
but what
videos, but nothing.
but what if you have the potential to say ruin somebody else's operation? So let's imagine. So you saw that like for for weeks, Thomas has been going at Nima Parvini. Let's say, here's the schizo theory for a second. Let's say that say Nima Parvini is kind of a part of a limited hangout. Somehow he's compromised, and he is important to some kind of NGO or special interest group or even a state actor, and his circle, which has basically taken over the dissident right.
Oh yeah, I don't dispute that's possible. I don't have a.
Okay, so if we accept that's possible,
because he has a lot of interaction and a lot of
influence.
My videos just get out there.
Yeah.
My subs are like the super minority of who actually watches my videos.
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about strictly political stuff. So let's say,
or if
like,
just
Nima
someone, even
Parvini.
if they weren't political, but they had I took like 3 years off from publishing any videos. My channel doesn't look like it's a ongoing interactive. The interaction, that's the important thing. I don't respond to comments much. There's none of myself. I've never spoken in my videos, and so there's no.
So hear me out. Hear me out then on the schizo theory would be. Right. The reason I don't buy into this, I'm just schizoing out and saying that imagine that like Nima Parvini was and his group were somebody's NGO level or special interest group controlled opposition limited hangout, and it was valuable to them and they didn't want it harmed. And then somebody like Thomas Barn-Rees comes along and starts brutally mocking and attacking them and taking serious shots at them, and then starts networking with other people such as me, maybe Nick Stilvey, who also, and it looks like, whoa, these people are actually beginning to mount like it might not be a serious like intellectual assault against them, but like certainly a comedic and a mocking assault that could potentially be even more damaging. Would then like an agent from these special interest groups, this limited hangout, be sent in to try and like disrupt, diffuse, attempt to dismantle this kind of operation from going
Oh yeah,
on
totally.
at an early stage?
That doesn't seem at all beyond the pale to me.
Well, that's
I don't see them offering money to
running
Thomas,
with.
though. I don't even call that schizo. I mean, look, if it turned out in reality, the UK, I mean, Thomas lives in the UK, right? As far as we know.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to. I'm not an expert with, I think he lives there. And so, as far as I know, it's psycho there, and you'll get investigated for putting. So, I don't think anyone's going to give him money. I don't think anyone who has money would take the risk to expose themselves as trying to offer money to him, because what might he do?
So I'm not suggesting people giving him money to influence him, but like, I'm just asking the question: at what level would, let's say, it plays out that there is this interest group, and like somebody like Nima Parvini and his group are important to them. Then Thomas starts making shots, and then I'm associated with Thomas in some way. At what level would I expect some kind of actor to come and start attempting to kind of have some influence on me? It's just thoughts that I've had with weird shit that I've seen that's been going on.
I think my opinion on that is that most likely they would just complain to Google, YouTube, etc., and they would just suppress your channel more than coming to you directly and getting you to do stuff. Especially, I mean, I don't think you would be easily, not that I even know, but it's easier, and it seems like it's been done a lot more to just sort of erase people on YouTube and things like that. My channel's got some swastikas in it, and I've got some videos. I mean, they're on airplane because it's World War II, but I've also got a video that's kind of like making fun of, it's like a Mel Brooks level of making fun of Jews, but from like 10 years ago. And I remember getting comments on it like anti-Semitic and and this or that. And I like joking with him, like I have my bar mitzvah more than you, and I think my channel had, either because I didn't publish anything for a long time. This is just speculation, but I think it is not getting the reach it might have 3-4 years ago. I think that kind of thing's a lot more likely. And I don't think it matters what level you're at. If you're having an effect, whether Thomas Baden Reese has 1,000 subscribers, 500, 10, if he's doing streams and people are reaching out and pay. I was watching that stuff. It took me a while to figure out what he was talking about. He kept saying Nima Parvini and showing this picture of this fat guy, and then talking about academic agent.
Yeah.
Which I mean, how can you? It's all boring. It's all, and if you are even mentally aligned with those ideas that guy is talking about, who's it? If you're already there, you're there. It's boring, and that's why I like watching. This is kind of like the fringe or the edge, or it's something interesting I might hear, and people are trying. Like when you talk to Doooovid, that's interesting to me. I didn't really grow up around Orthodox Jews, but that's just interesting to hear that guy talk about stuff. And maybe 2018, I probably did tune into some Luke Ford streams when he had the Brundle guy on, and because that was really interesting to me. I wanted to hear stuff that was about.
Did you hear the
Jews.
start of this stream by any chance? Did you hear?
I did. I tuned in like about right as that John guy was talking. Maybe a little before that. I tuned in and Claire was pointing out that in Thailand or in Buddhist places, they'll pimp out their daughters. And I'm not saying that, can't happen, but I just, as we already discussed, I mean, it's kind of a Pattaya, Bangkok, Phuket, where all the white people are thing. Not that I'm blaming white people. I'm sure Chinese guys and Japanese guys are getting in on it too, but it's just a function of super poverty. At least for that country. It's like the richest one for its neighbors, but and in the 60s it was a place with a lot of GIs and Air Force guys. But that's when I tuned in, and so I didn't hear what you were talking about at the beginning. All right, we got Claire. What's happening?
Stephen said he got disconnected, so he'll be let me get back in.
Is that a Santa Claus hat?
Yes, it's yes, it
I
is.
like the.
I thought it'd be festive.
I should have done that. Good for you.
Yeah. So you're an American listener of TBR.
Oh yeah, first time, long time.
Mm-hmm. So did you?
Go ahead.
I was going to ask if you know Luke Ford. Maybe you did. Say
I know who he is. Yeah, I used to occasionally tune in because like I'd be on an airplane or I'd be on a treadmill, and or mowing my lawn more recently, and so I want something to listen to. I used to listen to tons of audiobooks, and I still do, but I don't know what happened. I just started finding people who are basically nobodies. I'm a nobody too, but just like people talking about stuff. And who cares if it makes no sense to me or I think it doesn't matter. Because within it, I often hear a lot of stuff that is interesting or leads me on to something. And if you're listening to some, news organization that's bigger or even bigger streamers, it's less likely to be genuine or uncontrolled. I think that's what I think.
Yes.
But yeah, I watched Luke Ford.
To say what you think.
But yeah, I watched Luke because he had these, talks with all these people talking about stuff. And, if it got too boring or out there, I'd tune out. But, it'd be high points. And I stopped listening to any of that probably by 2019. I think a lot of people did. But yeah, TBR, whenever he was putting something out, it usually be a short video, high energy, and sometimes just funny. Like, remember Any Fish in the Sea or whatever it was called, where he's talking about, just really self-deprecating, funny stories. And no, I didn't learn anything, but.
He's a great mimic, is TBR.
Yes. By the way, my laptop just restarted for whatever reason. I don't know why. Perhaps we're getting too close to the truth. But Rick, what I wanted to say is right at the start of this show, Brundlefly came on for 5 minutes. So if you remember him from the Luke Ford show.
I just remember he was a guy who, at the time, 2018, when I was hearing it, like I said, that's kind of when I just first got hearing the more fact-based. So, like Kevin McDonald, didn't know who he was, didn't know any of the stuff he was talking about. And so I realized only then that a lot of things that people were criticizing Jews or organized Jewry for had quite a big grain of truth to them. I mean, I knew about it. It's not like I was totally naive, but there was a lot of extra information. And like I said, I got nervous hearing about it. Like, shit, like I'm not even in on this, so I don't feel responsible for it as long as I don't back it up. But on the other hand, it's you want to know the landscape you're in. And so Brundlefly, as far as I remember, he had a Jewish wife, right? Does that sound accurate?
Yes. Or half
She was half Jewish, but for her dad was Jewish and her mom is Gentile, so she's not Jewish according to the Jewish law, but according to like white people, you know, the system or whatever, she's like Jewish for all intents and purposes. Yeah.
But I'll tell you this though.
Jewish doesn't live in sin.
Okay. So I grew up with, like I said, you know, my mom wanted us to do all this Jewish stuff. All my grandparents, everybody is, you know, 100%. But my dad would always, you know, he didn't want to do it. He was an atheist too. Although he'd say the prayer, you know, we do a Friday night, you sit there, and he had a real old, it's not a Siddur, but it's the book for just the Friday night prayers that I think he got. And, you know, he had it all memorized because he just got raised that way, not really religiously. But he'd always tell me, if I wasn't Jewish, I'd be anti-Semitic. And I've met like one or two other Jews in my life who've said that to me. Definitely not most. And as I was going through, I went to like Hebrew school until I was 15. I went to Jewish summer camps. I lived in a Jewish dorm at Cal. It's not like officially Jewish, but it's mostly Jewish. And, you know, by the time I was like 13, 14, after the bar mitzvah, it's pretty clear to me, I really like a lot of these people. They're funny, I think. Maybe that fits with what you're talking about. My business partner's a Jewish guy. You know, politically, he's nuts. But every Jew, pretty much, in the U.S., is nuts, and that's not a secret. And you've got a real minority. And now it's worse than nuts. You know, it's anyway. And as you know, everyone is observing, they're collapsing in on themselves now. And I feel real grateful to be in a position where I don't care. Oh, fine. And that is tough on my parents a little bit because I think they both support Israel from just being in that generation. But yeah, this I think watching this kind of stuff or just my whole life, it's been clear, like, why would I don't have a problem with Israel, but it just seems like a mistake for them too. Like, who the fuck would want to move there? You know, if you had a choice. No offense, it looks like you're a Persian gentleman, but they didn't go down there.
Yeah, but but the idea of going to Israel is like it's an adventure, and also Israel is not so much a country; it's more of a cause. They they go because they believe in the cause.
I mean, maybe I'll tell you, this guy who's a business partner of mine, the Israeli government, if you're a Jew, they gave him, I think, 2 years free taxes. They paid for his moving expenses. He moved there for like 2 years, and then he moved back. He almost married some Jewish chick or Israeli chick.
Why did he move back? If I may ask,
I don't think it was working out with the young lady. That's probably the most real explanation. And you know, our business is here, and whatever. I wasn't going to do everything forever, but yeah, I think he takes it more seriously than I do. I mean, I'm writing it off.
Are you a Jewish? I'm sorry, I just got in.
Oh yeah, no, I'm totally, as far as like genetically and getting raised that way. And I'm really.
Oh, you grew up like traditional?
I'm nothing. Like, I don't do any. I mean, I go back because I want my mom to be happy. I was kind of a dick when I was in junior high and high school, and you know, she likes my kid. She's accepted. I married some, you know, Buddhist Thai chick. Anyway, I'm just trying to, you know, I go back for services every once in a while, and I just stand there, sit down, dress up, try to make her happy. And she's been cool. Anyway. So that's my level of doing it. It's just to try to put on a.
May I ask, do you ever attend Chabad? I'm sorry if these are too personal.
No, it's not, man. I mean, I've been in a Chabad house in Bangkok once. We got out of a taxi, and I looked around, saw a sign with Hebrew letters. I didn't like it. No, I mean, I went in. There's guys with a machine gun at the door, and I went in with my wife, and I sat down at a table. I remember it was just like you walk in. It was kind of like a cafeteria tables, and I sat down and I got a menu, and had like different Jewish foods or something. And we sat there, and I thought like the other guys were looking at me weird. They were kippahs and stuff, and we left. And I don't have any. My emphasis is I'm not proud of it. I'm not ashamed of it. It's just I admire my ancestors, not for being Jews, but for getting on the right boat at the right time, in my opinion. Just they didn't do Jewish stuff much. They just were Jewish, and I don't blame them. It's like if someone comes here from some other country and they got their cultural whatever, I accept that for a generation or so. But in the U.S., I'm really expecting Jews and everybody to sort of pull in for the U.S. or if you're in the U.K., pull in for the U.K. And the dual loyalty to some other country is a big problem.
I agree. What do you think of this terminology of Christo-Judaic values? I one of my pet peeves is when I hear like people like Dennis Prager say, "Oh, Christian Judaic values."
I don't even. I assume it's like a historic convention. Just like when Claire Call was talking about all the stuff about where you get I don't think about it. I'm day by day. I'm not writing it down. I'm not getting it from somewhere. I like reading ancient stuff, but I don't think that's where I'm getting my ideas from.
Have you ever heard of a website called Sepharia.org? It has the complete Jewish tradition in English and Hebrew, including the Bible and Talmud. You said you like ancient stuff, so you could check out a lot of ancient stuff on Sepharia.org.
Well, when I say ancient stuff, what I mean is like primary sources. They got to be translated because I don't know Greek or anything, but like Polybius, guys who are objective. They're not religious. They're like historians. Herodotus, he's famous. That's just a great story. And you get a lot of information firsthand from a guy who was walking around, about 2,400 years ago. And what the Jews were doing, I collect coins and that kind of stuff. That's semi-interesting. And the intersection between, like the Hanukkah story that deals with Antiochus IV. He's got nice big silver coins and you can get them. And I like showing those to my mom and saying, hey, this is the guy in the story. But
Antiochus, yeah.
Yeah, the fourth is the guy who is the one involved in that story. And just because of that, that's like an intersection with it. But no, I'm not interested in reading. So I remember in college, I took this class called Prophets of the Bible. It was like a requirement. You didn't have to take that class, but it satisfied a requirement. And that was very interesting. It was like the 3 different sources that they had determined had come together at different times to make what is now the prophets of the Bible. And if you do a bar mitzvah, you got to and at the time I did it, no one explained any of this to me. That's one of the disappointments. It's like if you go to Hebrew school in the U.S., I went to, I don't know what the level is, not Reform or Reconstruction. This is kind of like, no one's dressing up funny, but.
Well, yeah, what do you think of Reform?
I don't think anything of any of it. I just think I don't want to do any of it. I'm not trying to, and let me tell you, so like the shul that I grew up in and that I go back to every once in a while in this mostly Christian suburb that, we've always lived in back there, that my parents still live at. I go in there this last time, I think it was September for Rosh Hashanah, and they got a new rabbi. Everybody's welcome. He gay, trans. I go in the bathroom. They've got the rainbow in there.
Sorry to hear you had that experience.
Well, I just feel like I'm not missing anything. I'm not interested in praying or going to be in a big group. Frankly, you can't be armed in the state they live in either. And I'm not saying like, oh, Jews are under threat, but just, practically speaking, I don't want to be standing in a big group in that kind of place. It's not a place I want to be. I'm going there to, you call it nachas, right? Help out my mom, feel good. And
she gets a feeling from when you do what she likes to do.
Yeah, me coming with my kid, and my wife goes. She's very nice. My mom's okay with it now, and all that, or okay enough. But yeah, that's I'm there. My dad wouldn't give a shit. He goes for her too, and he used to tell me, he hit me in the face a couple of times when I was a kid. He's like, "What do you do?" If I wouldn't want to say the bruchas on Saturday or Friday night, he would be the enforcer. But it's for her sake. even though he's as background Jewish as her. And you get that. You can see that, right? In the U.S., you've got a minority of Jews, it's like 25%, who aren't rabid lefties. I don't know how that's changed over time.
My understanding, only about 10% of Jews in the world are Sabbath observant to begin with.
That's I mean, like I said,
Yeah, and I've also heard a claim that 7 out of 10 American Jews is actually married to a non-Jew.
Wow. Well, I'd be one of them, but yeah, I don't know if it's that high, but I remember the rabbi told us when we were in like 5th or 6th grade. He drew on the chart. This guy's dead now, and I admire that guy. When I picture a rabbi, I think of that guy. He was like a hard ass, none of this bullshit. Again, I'm not religious. I don't want to have a rabbi, but if I had to, it'd be that guy. Anyway, he put a thing on the board. He's like, if you marry someone who's not Jewish, there won't be any Jews, and I won't preside over that wedding. Something like that. And I was a kid. I was like, oh, all right.
I do the same thing with my nephews and nieces.
And is that are you a Jew yourself?
Yeah, you didn't see my yarmulke?
I saw it, but I wasn't sure what kind of hat that is. I want to jump to conclusions, but yeah. So I don't tell my kid anything of this sort, and I moved to a place with a giant cross in front of a huge Catholic church that says, "In memory of all the aborted babies." And there's no Jews. It's all Christmas everywhere. And I told my kid, just do it. You don't tell people you don't celebrate Christmas, And I talked to him about stuff at home, just to like understand a little bit, to be able to talk to my mom. But that's a little obnoxious. I grew up with that feeling of, oh, I shouldn't have to sing this song or something. And that's,
if you don't mind me asking, how are you bringing up your kid? Are you bringing him up in any particular faith?
Just nothing. I mean, my wife is Buddhist, but that's not a real invasive religion.
Do you know what sect of Buddhism it is?
Well, it would be called Theravada. She would know that. That's just what they call Thai Buddhists, is Theravada.
Yes.
What is it? I couldn't tell you. Nothingness. That's the goal. And I always laugh, and I'm like, well, that's easy. I could be nothing as soon as I want. I think my objective is to hold out as long as I can, not being nothingness. But I mean, look, I get it's just like all that. Once you start talking about stuff that's so subjective and blah blah blah, it's not part of my thinking. I hope, I did have a feeling of I want to have a kid so my parents can see it, because I waited a long time to have a kid. I was like 36. I was married 10 years before that, and I just put it off because I was, wasn't like in a hurry to do it, but I felt like I better do it before it's too late, mostly for my parents. And I thought of my ancestors coming here on the boats in the 1890s, and I thought, kind of suck if they did all that, it kept going, and then I just iced out right here. And that's all, it's not principle I was mentioning. I don't have a mantra or a guide that's going to help me solve everything. It's got to be what comes in front of me. And my suspicion is that's really how everyone's got to do it. So if you're looking for who's got a solution, my solution is there's no solution. Survival, like you're talking about, try not to step on other people. Either it's going to come back to you, or most of us have some aversion to doing that too much. I have stepped on people. I'm sure I have stolen. I have lied. I'm probably not alone in that, but if I am, I'm able to live with it. And maybe that's just my Jewish acquisitiveness. I'm not sure. That's the best way I would, figure it out for anyone. Although that being said, like I said, I moved to this Catholic town, and I always like to observe. Like there's a family across the street that'll never talk to us. They got all these kids. They won't have their kids play with my kid. The other neighbors told me they're like they say like Dutch Reform, some kind of Christian, but they're a really nice family, keep the house up nice. And I feel like that's fine. Maybe they think I'm going to be some, outsider who's going to get their kids weird or something. And anyway, what I mean is it's working out for them, whatever they're, if they have some religion, or if someone's Jewish and if it's working, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I I wouldn't want to tell anybody, oh yeah, he's Jewish. Confirmed. Yeah, well, okay, those two don't have to go together, though. That's at the shul, isn't it? And I always told my mom, that's a problem. Why would you want to have, they got the American flag on one side and the Israeli flag on the other. And it doesn't, you can be Jewish and
holy shit.
And not even, yeah. It's
so
sad.
Look, I mean, the thing is, Judas, okay, so the truth
I bought this hat
Judas.
from Brundle Fly.
Oh, yeah.
This is on the Brundle Fly merch store. I'm like the only person in the world who has this hat.
That is the
You're a
rarest
brave
hat
man
in the
if you
world.
wear it outside.
I do sometimes when my family tells me not to.
And is your family comparably conservative or Orthodox as you?
My family is not Orthodox, but we're not secular either.
Okay.
By the way, I'm gonna just dox my city. I live in Los Angeles, California, because I'm not scared of these hating ass people who hate on me for my religion and for being Jewish. I'm not scared of them.
Yeah, well, when I say you're brave, I don't mean like from the internet. You're putting your face on. I'm not. I just, obviously I don't hate Jews. Well, I shouldn't say obviously, but I don't know the solution to that conundrum either. And the whole Israel thing, I just feel like too bad I can't go back in time, because what a dumb idea. I mean, and I understand the U.S. wasn't letting them in at that time, but there were a lot of other places. I've always met kids, like, I'm sure you've met Jews who, like, they're from Mexico, but they're obviously not, you know what I mean? Like, their ancestors went to Mexico or Argentina or even Thailand. There are other places people could go in 1930s or 40s. Not the U.S., and probably, not a bunch of other places in Western Europe, but all I'm getting at is thinking you had to go to Israel or wanting to go to Israel. And at the time, whatever, it's just a huge mess. And my solution for that, which will never happen, is just a big auction where, they found that gas field and they just put the whole place up for bids. And then they take the payment in gold or something real and exit and let the Arabs have the whole place. But obviously, I would be about the only person who agrees with that, who's Jewish or who has anything to do with Israel.
I'm not sure what you're on about. What's that?
About the auction.
Auction for what?
For the whole property of Israel, all the immovable property, and all of the citizens of Israel, who I understand are mostly Jews, would then take the proceeds of the sale of Israel. I know this is totally nonsense, right? I'm not trying to say like this is the actual solution, but in my mind.
Oh, so you're imagining a future solution? Okay.
Yes,
exactly. I thought you were talking historically.
No, historically.
Oh, right,
yeah, it's too bad. It already happened, though, right? So
okay, yeah. Now
because I can't, because you can't go do anything about it. Who cares what objections or whatever I got to it? It is what it is, and here we are. And so that's just my thought, which I know is nonsense, but because in my mind, who cares about Jerusalem? No, I'm not. What is that? I don't know what that is.
That will be some kind of candy that Judas is eating. So Judas, just to be clear, the backstory with Judas. Judas is an interesting guy. I'm not saying anything he doesn't talk about openly. He's autistic, and he has like an identity crisis too, because he's kind of half Jewish. Well,
he's looking to hold you.
Pretty much, yeah. I have the theory that with half Jews, would you believe that Doooovid is half Jewish as well?
No, I thought he was. Isn't that not, what?
Gentile,
your theory. I ascribe to your
Gentile
theory.
Dad.
Not about half necessarily, but I remember I used to really like eating sandwiches in college with these three guys at the big cafeteria, and one of them, Maddie, he's totally Jewish ethnically like me, but he used to tell me his parents just didn't give a shit, didn't do anything, didn't really raise him Jewish, and so by the time I was meeting him, we're like 20. He's really into it.
Yeah.
So that is actually a danger with my kid, right? If I don't.
Yeah, an identity crisis, one way or the other, when they get to adolescence or whatever, and then they'll be like, well, which one am I? And they'll pick one and go all into it. So like all into either like being Buddhist and Thai, or all into being Jewish, and you can like overcompensate and go so like 200%, and therefore be like get really political about it too.
Yeah, and I think that having it kind of shoved down my throat a little bit could have helped to. I mean, all my brothers are the same. I got two brothers, the same story. You know, nobody's trying to be Jewish.
Yeah,
And
if you're raised in it, the opposite happens, doesn't it?
yeah,
You
I
like
think you're
have
right.
you
So maybe I'm fucking this
rebel
up.
against it.
That's still not enough of a reason for me to start getting my kid into
Yeah,
Hebrew school.
if you don't want to brainwash your kid, don't start doing it now.
Right. No, I think I can spend a lot of time with my kid. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a kid
I think
now,
perhaps
so
the best would be to expose them to enough of both sides, basically, so that they can make their own choices at the end of the day.
And expose it in a, here it is. And what do? Well, you can see what I do. Jack shit. And when I go to Thailand, it's not really a competition. I mean, there's not the same anything as far as like, are they suspicious that you're marrying a Jew? No. You know, if they're Thai Buddhist daughter, are they worried? You know, there's nothing to do. You know, and it's, you know, when I go and sit down like on New Year's or something, if I'm over there at her sister's house, they'll have a bunch of monks come over, or I had a wedding over there, cultural ceremony, and a bunch of monks come, and it's cool. And you know, how much of that is like Thai culture versus Buddhism? You know, because Buddhism, like you were saying, it's not going to be exactly the same in Cambodia and blah blah blah. But you know, I understand the story. You know, Siddhartha, it's kind of neat, his historic, but that's all. It's interesting to me. But anyway, the Buddhism doesn't push itself anywhere. It doesn't. No one's trying to get my kid into like Buddhist school or to have a Buddhist ceremony he's got to practice for a few years when he's 13, or that he's going to at school be like, well, I want to do the Buddha. There's no such thing. So it's pretty compatible with whatever religion. I mean, I'm sure you could meet someone again.
There's a nice passivity about Buddhism, absolutely. Yeah. Unlike Islam and Claire Corslot here, there's a conquering with a political agenda and a ethnic component too.
Now the whole Islam thing too, it turns into, you know, especially with collecting coins and selling coins and things like that. I deal with a lot of Muslims and my regular business. Real nice people, get along with them great. They must know I'm Jewish because my name is, you know, my real name is totally Jewish too. So I look Jewish. I got a real Jewish name, and I don't catch anything from them. What are we getting here? My Hebrew Picture Dictionary,
I got this book from my cousin because he wants to learn Hebrew now. Since the October 7th, he wants to learn Hebrew.
Wow. See, that's neat. And October 7th, when that happened, or the day after, I called one of my Filipino buddies from school. And I was like, are you going to go fight and die for Israel? We both just laughed about it. And my opinion on that is I don't want that shit here. And I don't want us in that shit. And, you know, no one is going along with that either. But yeah, I'm glad that way before that happened, I was of a mind that I got nothing to do with that. You know, they give, I think it's the JUF. I'm not sure if it's the JUF though, but until I was like 21, I know my mom told me she put in a couple $1,000 and this organization matched it. It's called the Send a Kid to Israel program, SKIP. And she really wanted me to go to Israel, and I had new kids who were going. So it's like they're chipping in so you can go on this trip to Israel. Yeah. And I just didn't want to go. Yeah. I didn't go study abroad. It's not like it was totally Israel. I just don't like.
So you never took the trip?
Never took the trip. Never been there. Not interested in going. My wife's more interested in going there than I am. You know, because it is actually
probably a bad time to do it now.
Exactly. Yeah, and I felt like it's always a bad time. I mean, yeah, it's a historic. You know, but I can go to Turkey or something. I'm not going anywhere over there. I mean, I've told her. She's when we fly to Thailand. She's like, you know, the flights are cheaper if you go through Qatar, or you know, and they got real nice airlines, like Emirates. And I'm sure
Yeah.
they're real nice. And I'm sure there wouldn't anything happen to me. But I've just told her I'm not flying over that hemisphere. Like, I'm not interested. I just go over the Pacific. I've never been to Europe. I've never been to pretty much anywhere except like Canada, Japan, and Thailand. And I'm not interested in going anywhere. I am not a traveler. When I go to Thailand, I'm just there because I just happened to marry someone from Thailand. And I had to go over there. But once I get there, I don't like going looking at stuff or going on trips around there. I like going to 7-Eleven. And just, people are very nice there. It's very easy to live there and comfortable. It's hot as hell in the summer, but it's nice in the. Anyway,
Yes. Whereabouts did you live? Or where did you stay?
When I went there, I just always go to Bangkok because that's where she used to work.
Okay. Yeah.
I met her in school up here in the U.S., but then after about a year, she had to go back there, and then I went over there, and we had that, like I said, the cultural ceremony. But she was working in Bangkok, which is so nice. I like going there. I'll be going there in a few months. It's just
Do you go in the
easy.
rainy season?
Well, I'm going to. Yeah, exactly. I've never gone at this
Holy
time
shit.
before because of my kid's school. Yeah, we took him out last winter break for like an extra week on each side. He was kind of maladjusted when he came back. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm not a. I like just I'm okay with myself and not doing anything. And I know everyone's different, but you got to have with this Jewish thing. That's why I got interested in this. And our friend Judas here, people who get into Judaism, all I can say is I don't feel the same way, but I still have a little latent nervousness though about what's going to happen with the legitimate or well-founded feelings about these fucking Jews. How's that going to balance out accurately with that there's tons of people, including I think even myself, who, if you do the test, yeah, we're Jews. Or if you just look at me, yeah, I'm a Jew.
Yeah.
There's some latent nervousness about, is that going to come back and get me?
Well, look, the truth of it is, I mean, here's the deal, right? Here's the shocking truth. You don't have to worry about the white people. It's the others who are the real anti-Semites.
Oh, for sure.
The
For sure.
people
That's true. No, it's
So this
but
is
the
the
white
thing.
people are my people, in my view.
This is the
That's-
paradox. Yeah, this is the paradox of it. That really, in many ways, like if you look at the alt-right's critique of Jews, they believe like that Jews hold like some kind of historic resentment for like World War II and stuff, and so play this out through. This is the alt-right theory. Okay, as badly as I can put it across, that Jews hold. Basically resentment for the Holocaust and fear, legitimate fear that this could happen again, and so through pressure and political maneuvering seek to kind of reduce the power of like the ethnic the cohesive ethnic whites in, say, America. This could be
and I don't
called
think
an
there's
anti-Semitic
anything.
conspiracy.
I don't think there's any way to dispute that. I think the
Well, you can say
nuance-
that. I wouldn't say it, but that
I will
would
say
be
it
like
because
the
I mean, what have you
yeah.
got the ADL out there doing? It's like shitting on people's driveways, and then when they open the door, holding up a picture of my face and waving. So I don't appreciate that, and I actively see them, and not just them, but they are an appendage of whatever it is that you're describing, and that I'm saying I think I see too.
But the
It's,
paradox here is that Jews have never had a better place, like right at the top of the totem pole, and been like more in a more prized position than they have been, like at the top of American society. Whether you subscribe to the fact that they're like a ruling elite, or just like an honored and kind of prized culturally elite through like Hollywood, or just influence in social life and stuff like that, as they have been in America basically for decades, since the turn of the middle of the last century. But by backing the increase in migration of other groups, either for subversive reasons, for the reasons I gave earlier, or just through a natural affinity with the immigrant, the outsider, the oppressed people, through either one of those means, by backing the mass immigration and cultural change of America. They're basically killing the golden goose.
Oh yeah, it looks
You
incoherent
know,
or just stupid. And
what are they
yeah,
doing?
no,
It
it's
doesn't make
totally
any
mental.
sense.
It's look, it's obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but it doesn't seem well thought out, and it's come to that
No.
point where, so yeah, like you're talking about the Holocaust. These things are used as cudgels. And that's what people should be pissed at and should be. And then they get shut down and called anti-Semitic, and that's all got to somehow be dismantled. And it is probably going to take some actual Jews to start saying "fuck this" and going after those other Jews. And there's not none of them, and then there's the in the middle. They're older guys who are, would be considered the minority of Jews because they're not voting Democrat, but they're still a little bit too hooked up with Israel. You know what I mean? So it's like, even if they're not going to be pro-mass immigration and they're going to politically not support all the poison, it's going to come with that baggage. And then that baggage reaches around, and it's like they both got to be extricated, I think. And, for me as a person, I'm an individual. I'm not participating in any of this. I'm not donating to any of this. I'm not voting or supporting for any of it. I'm not actively really seeking out against it, but it is not, I'm not. Part of this puzzle is, if I think you're a Jew in America and you want to solve this, Israel can't be your pet. It can't be special to you, and you got to be ready to say, if it comes down to I got to nuke Israel or Thailand, in my view, I'm nuking Israel. It's just because obviously I'm self-interested there, or I was just, I like doing these thought experiments. Okay, what if, you start hearing about in the U.S., they're going to bring in Palestinian refugees? Because, while I'm not happy that Israel got set up, I don't want to, I'm not going to be interested in having refugees from Palestine come here either. I've met a bunch of Palestinian people who came here not as refugees. They're okay, but they're pretty unique. They're like the people who left Iran in 1979. Even if they're kind of commies a little bit, they're usually okay. The kind of person who left then. Anyway, I've been thinking, if we're in this situation and it was up to me, where, well, what's going down in Israel means we're going to have to take in these Palestinian refugees, or we're going to have to nuke the whole place. I'm nuking the whole place if it's between those two things.
Well,
and
I'll just disavow that for the sake of my stream of me.
It's just a thought. Well, TBR
we wouldn't wish that upon anyone. Look, I think the Israel situation is for just foobar, fucked up beyond all recognition. I wouldn't know what to do with it, and I'm sure people will call me out and say, SJJ, how can you say that? You've got to condemn these Jews for stealing the land and all this kind of stuff. This is what my audience is going to say. The Jews stole that land. You can't say. But look, realpolitik is where we are today. Israel has a bunch of nuclear weapons. They're not going to give up that land. They're going to go down fighting. So I don't know what the fuck to do about it.
They fucked this up. They fucked this. I mean, I've always been
we are in
telling my mom,
very bad situation.
Maybe this is just like in the prophets of the Bible, where they've been bad, which kept happening, and they got punished. And how have they been bad? I mean, as you know, they were making everybody. I'm not even talking about, by the way,
Well, that's the story of the Bible, isn't it? Jews misbehave, and
yeah, I mean, you got Israel,
ills befall them.
The old Israel, the northern kingdoms that got wiped out first, and then Judea was still left. It kept happening. But I guess what I'm getting at is, when I say they've been bad, I mean to their own citizens. They've got limits on how much you can use in a cash transaction, or else it's a crime. They made everyone get those shots. It's like they miss the 30s and the 40s in some ways. I know it's whatever. I wouldn't ever want to be a citizen of that place. It's got nothing to do with religion. It's just like they're mistreating their own people, in my opinion. And when this attack happened, I know a lot of people think it looks like that could have been avoided a lot more easily. And I just feel like the response, that was just dumb. They're totally reliant, I think, on the good graces of a few Western nations, especially the USA. And they could have done, I've said for a long time, I remember some Passover like 10 years ago, and again, I'm not totally serious about anything. I just like thinking out loud. But next time some missiles come over, instead of sending a lot more missiles, or just send over a bunch of marshmallows and cards, make a nice video of it, because this is a PR war. This is a fourth generation warfare. This is not, because other people have said this, unless you are just going to flatten everyone there, it's always going to be there. And you're going to be sharing the space, which sucks and seems like a bad idea to put themselves in. But then, you have to be smart. And in this case, doing this, it just seems really dumb. And
look, it's bad PR. It's absolutely bad PR for Jews, for Israel, and I imagine the blowback for Jews around the world. Like, Luke Ford says, that when like Israel's at war, when Israel's doing stuff that's bad optics, I think he said he wonders whether he should wear his yarmulke on the street, and I think like they have talks at the synagogue about maybe that's not the best idea. Feel free not to wear it if you don't want to, and that kind of stuff. Because you're going to encounter people on the streets who are going to say, "Hey, you Jew, explain yourself for what's going on in the Middle East and this kind of stuff." I don't know what to say about it.
Well, obviously nobody's got an answer. It just looks like
it's bad optics, though, isn't it? It's bad optics, terrible optics.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's whatever. I mean, I think they're but when I used to go to like Jewish summer camp when I was a kid, we'd have the Shmirah, and these were real Israeli guys. They'd like drive trucks around the camp at night. They're kind of like security, and so these guys, I remember talking to them at a campfire, and one of these guys, like Udi or something like that, he'd be like telling me how he'd go down into the valley at night, and they had to cut these guys' throats while they were sleeping. And these, who knows if it's true, but this was like, they're all in the IDF. They all have to do that, which is, that's admirable. And I think they were, but anyway, whatever the hell he was talking about, these guys seem like hard dudes. And I remember as a kid thinking like, whoa. And so there's a lot that I admired about people who I've met who are Jews and Israeli, and I am one theoretically or genetically, but what a fuck up, just what a massive, and just like you were pointing out, in this country, the demographics is way against this place supporting them. It's already happened. You can see this is a huge break, what's happened here, but it should have been easily predictable, because the whole support for Israel in this country is pretty much Protestant Christians. That's it, evangelical Protestant Christians, and that's a shrinking plurality, and especially the older ones. That's obviously shrinking, and they're not being replaced with people who are.
It's just madness to me that the demographics of America are being given up from being a majority, like white Protestant Americans, basically, which built up America as whatever you might think of them as the prosperous nation it would be. And to me, if like just the if the elites of America, whether they be Jewish, white, whatever, would just agree to just like back the white majority of America, the demographic, so that doesn't actually get lost, you'd be guaranteed like 1,000 years of prosperity. But instead, you're about to cook the golden goose and eat it. and God knows what's
It's
gonna
a total
come.
fuck up since my whole lifetime, especially lately. I'm like 43, but there is, with different races and stuff like that. My whole life, I've gotten along better with. I shouldn't say better, but like I've always wound up hanging out a little bit more than other people with like Indian people or Asian people because I was never good at sports, maybe, or I don't care about pro sports. I don't follow it, and that's pretty heavy duty among most of my peers who are just regular white guys. But that's all washed out of them by the time we were like 24. So ah, it's like a smokable thing.
I live in California. Don't tell my rabbi you saw me with this.
I won't tell you. I don't talk to rabbis, but especially not
I
the
know.
new
I'm
one.
just playing around.
But I think this country could have been fine having people who. The whole problem is just letting people walk over and giving people shit because it wouldn't happen if they weren't giving people shit. And so this could have been, or even could now be resolved. And that's one of my primary things I think about. That I wonder what can be done, or I'm just going to leave. And Thailand actually looks pretty good. When refugees show up there, they either push the boat away or they have camps on the borders, and no one comes in from the camps, or they have migrant workers from Cambodia or a little bit from Burma, Myanmar, whatever. And they're highly regulated. But here, it's like, yeah, whatever, you can't do anything. And I do think organized Jewry, I'm not going to take credit for this myself, has thrown in its weight behind helping out with that for whatever reasons. But that's the big thing that it's got to stop. And it doesn't have to be done explicitly on racial grounds, because that'll never get through. The nice, good people of America, the nice, good white people of America, even the ones who don't vote Democrat, they're not going to go for that. And I'm not going to go for remove. That's what I think bothered me in 2018 when people were like, "Well, we got to get the Jews and the non-whites out of our countries." I was like, "Well, I don't want to." Anyway, I don't take it personally anymore. And obviously, these guys that's not happening. But
we're way beyond that by now. Anyway,
and how much are you going to care
the
about?
alt-right died of death, basically.
No, and I tell you, at this point, I look at that as alarming. So it's like a 180 on that. I'm like, what got done to them? The whole Charlottesville and all that. I'm like, fuck, that's feeling a little sad that I was ever feeling like those guys were dicks, even if I felt that way. Anyway, if this country could turn off the everything for anyone who's here without status, that'd be a huge step in the right direction. If we could not have the birthright citizenship, that'd be a huge step in the right direction. That would help out a lot.
The main one is the chain migration, isn't it? Bringing over dependents. This is the big problem.
Our legal immigration is. I got a little bit clamped. Actually, my wife got naturalized. She could have been for like 8 years, but she just did it a couple months ago. And I went to the ceremony, and I wasn't the only white guy there, but I was.
But close to it.
Yeah, it was like that. And so all these people did it legally. I got to tell you, I felt a little bit cool about, whenever I see East Asian people, I kind of feel like, oh, that's okay. But it wasn't even mostly them. And all right, he's a Lubavitcher. You shake the lulav.
Actually, I'm not a Lubavitcher, but these are just yeshiva. These are different hats that I wear on different occasions, like for the weekday, for the Sabbath, holidays, etc. This is the hat. This is my favorite hat. This is the hat I wear on Purim, the holiday Purim, where we celebrate genocide.
Hey, have you ever watched Have you ever watched the series Stiesel?
Stiesel? Is that like one of those shows about those dramas about Hasidic Jews?
Yeah, my wife found it, made me watch it.
I don't watch that garbage. I am disgusted by shows like that.
Oh, interesting. Because you know about it, so you.
I've heard of shows like it, and I've seen like images and like clips, and I don't know anything about this show. Maybe it's a good show. I don't know, but a lot of these there's are legit. Like I view this like pornography.
It might be. I mean, look, because I don't know about the reality. To me, it's just a show, and to her, it's even it's funny, and that's the. I don't even watch movies unless I'm watching them with her at this point, you know, because it's not of interest to me. But and she also likes watching ones where it's like the Jews who are like escaping from their Orthodox Jewish life in New York. I don't know if you ever seen
I
that kind of
hate
stuff.
those are even worse. I don't like. I really don't like that shit. I really hate that shit. There was this one. Good documentary about that I thought maybe was worth checking. It's called One of Us.
I think that's the one we saw.
That one, I like that one. I thought that one. There was some crazy people in that shit. Like that girl who was that one girl. I don't know. That girl with
who was getting
hair,
her kid taken away.
something like she was really cute, but like that girl was like nuts. That show that it's a dark documentary. I don't recommend watching it, but if people want to like see like drama about Orthodox Jews, start with that one.
I got a brother who married a chick from New York who was a runaway Orthodox Jew. You know, her dad, his business was certifying foods as kosher around Brooklyn.
Yo, I'm gonna turn off my camp. I'm listening.
Yeah. But that was her background. She'd run away from that. And
it's pretty common, isn't it? It's pretty common. It happens.
Yes, and also girls are more likely to leave religion than boys.
Interesting.
This is what I say about it. If you bring somebody up strict in religion, they tend to rebel about like when they hit adulthood and stuff. I mean, you see it with Mormons and stuff.
But the thing is, I live in the Orthodox Jewish
Witnesses.
community, and I've met many Orthodox Jews, you know, who have kids who are very well adjusted and you know are contributing to society, and they're happy with their lifestyle at the same time. But
Sure,
like,
it's absolutely not the majority.
For example,
but it's,
like a rabbi in my community, he like takes his daughters to the public library, or they used to years ago. And like a lot, but there's like some people say like talk about how there's Hasidic rabbis who say like you shouldn't like go to like the public library, but like this very righteous holy rabbi in our community, you know, does that. So it's about finding balance. And yeah, you're right, when people are too strict, like when people start like there's this really good novel I read in college called Rabbis and Wives. It's called Rabbis and Wives, and there's a part in the story where the narrator says, you know, if you forbid what's permitted, then the youth will permit what is forbidden, or something like that.
It sounds generally, but just like you're saying, but then there's plenty of people who go along with it, and it's what's good for them. And I don't want to leave Claire out when she was saying who's got a solution. I don't think there is a solution that's going to work for everybody. You just had a guy on here, like I mentioned, who thinks he might be interested in a tranny because they'll be more feminine than a real chick. All right, so or even
thick and twisted. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, well, we could all think of a million different things that to us make no sense. No disrespect at all, but you know, anyone who's getting into being Jewish, it doesn't follow to me. But or in the town I'm in, you know, going to church or really, you know, being interested in it doesn't make sense to me. I'm not interested. But obviously, this is keeping. I don't know what's keeping them on track, but it's not taking them off the track. And I'm seeing all these people who are leading what seem to be productive, non-invasive, non-fucking with me lives, who've made a nice community. So however they did that, okay, like I said, mystery and me not understanding it, that's cool. Like I expect that. I don't think anyone's figured it out. I don't think anyone's gonna figure it out. I don't think it can be figured out. And you know, you're muddling through it, but the more stuff you see and hear, I think that helps you. You know, there's like a difference, implicit and explicit knowledge. Like riding a bike is implicit, and explicit is remembering your birthday or something. It's a kind of implicit knowledge. You don't know exact. It's just experience. Somehow, you get a better grip on what you should do, and that's why, you know, Israel. I feel like, well, I should not be in any way supporting that, manipulating this country or having this country do anything for its sake or any country's sake. But you know, that's just an example, because if I go to the shul associated with my parents' religion or whatever, it's got a big flag.
Yeah. Well, I don't see what benefit it would be to you, especially if you've never been there. So I mean, it would be weird. I mean, that would be weird if you had never been there, had no association to the place, were then supporting like Israel and stuff. Then that would like confirm like the JQ and stuff like that. But
Well, I think that is a pretty
so
typical. Like I said, even my parents are, and I am. I mean, if I'm going to be real honest and dig down deep, I have a bias in favor of Israel. I grew up making little Play-Doh, topographic maps of it, and I've met Israelis and that kind of stuff. I don't think it was like. I don't think it's like they're occupying. It's a huge mess. But what I would want to do is say, I'm in the U.S. My ancestors chose to come here, and I'm glad they did. I think it was the right choice. I would have never wanted to go anywhere in the Middle East or wind up there.
yeah.
But I want this country to do nothing. No money, no pressure on other countries, no nothing. And we still might defend the water if shipping starts getting blown up, because that's kind of the whole point of the U.S. Navy is protecting international sea routes, I thought. But that would be it.
Here's the thing, though. My Wigner audience won't like me to admit this, but I can understand in a way why the US is knees deep in fucking Israel, because, look, they have like this massive nuclear arsenal. It's well known now, and the Samson option is pretty much real. I can understand that too. That like if their back's against the wall, they're going to start firing the nukes off. I don't buy into the idea that they're going to launch them like at Washington and London, but certainly like Tehran and Baghdad and all the places in the Middle East. And so at some level, unless you like you kind of over a barrel, like Israel like has you over a barrel that like you have to like prop us up or this shit's gonna explode. We're here in the Middle East, and this is like an existential battle for our survival, whether we're here legitimately or not. But we've got Iran at this side of us, Iraq a while ago
I'll
over
expose
there.
my predilections then, because like I said, I didn't
Yeah.
want a bunch of Palestinian refugees coming here. I don't want a
Mm.
bunch of whatever that was having that rave necessarily either. But I guess I'd feel like I said, the auction. It's obviously not going to happen, but that would be where they get bid on by whoever, China, Dubai. They can all chip in. Saudis can buy it. They're going to get the whole thing. They're going to get all the holy sites. They're going to get Bethlehem, the whole thing. All the citizens of Israel, unless they want to stay, they're going to get their
I
share.
don't think anybody else wants it, to be honest.
You mean to do that?
Well, I mean, I think who would want to buy into the place other than like Israelis or Palestinians?
Well,
at this
Arabs, I would
point?
think. I would think.
Other Arabs, I suppose, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
okay.
strategic location, and it's got the Leviathan, and that's like the
But
biggest
because
gas
the
field.
state of Israel exists, that prevents anything like that happening now, because there's this nuclear armed state committed to its own
If it
survival.
was up to me, the U.S. would put the pressure on them then and say, look, we're done with you. If you want to nuke all your neighbors, fine. We don't think you should. We're not going to endorse it. And you're all going to, it's not going
But
to
the
work out
problem
for
is
you.
once nukes start flying, we're in very dangerous territory, aren't you?
Well, of course. Look, it's a whole.
So that's why I say, like I say, my audience will not like the fact that I say I can understand why perhaps it may be, if you think about it, just like to keeping the status quo in the world. I don't know if I'm right here, but I can just understand
I'd actually know less
if
than
it
you,
is
I
in
guess,
America's interest.
About the nukes.
Yeah.
I've heard of Samson Oxford and all that. I hope they can't hit us, but
Well, actually, I believe they can. I didn't believe
them
this.
out.
I didn't believe that. I didn't think this was true a couple of years ago, and then I looked into it. No, Israel does have nuclear capabilities. It's confirmed. They're also on submarines, just like the UK has a Trident submarine force of nukes, which means basically you can park your submarines off any coast and nuke them. So it doesn't even have to be intercontinental ballistic missiles. You can just park your submarine off a nation's coast and nuke But Israel also has intercontinental ballistic missiles because they have a space program. So they've been launching rockets to orbit, which is the demonstration that you can put ICBMs in space. So we know that they have that capability too. And once you have ICBM capability, you can nuke any continent in the world.
Well, that really sucked. I didn't know it was that. I don't
Yeah.
doubt that at all. That's just even worse news. But yeah, I mean, like I said, in my thought experiment, then the U.S. would, before that happens, put the pressure on them and say, here's some options we're going to give you. You don't have to pick one, but we will facilitate this auction where you all get paid in gold. Then you pack up. You have 5 minutes to pack what you can in one suitcase and you leave. And at that point, I would suggest that we actually accept a bunch of them, which is a huge problem. I get, they're usually not dependents, or they got to go somewhere. That's an unsolved problem. But I would say if the U.S. was behind this, that would be a huge ask for us to actually take the people. But it's not going to happen if you say auction your place off, get paid in gold, and then find a place to go. Although, if you've got gold, I would think you can diaspora 3.0 all around. And as a Jew, I wouldn't want to be concentrated with a bunch of other Jews. That's not how most people feel. But anyway, that's a way where you vacate this fucked up land. I guess you got to dismantle or take all the nukes, and obviously their subs and weaponry can be transferred to us too. And a lot of the countries around there, like Saudi Arabia especially, are not at the top psycho. They got populations but they're coming along, I think. And especially the Emirates and countries like that have a lot of access to real resources. They're not all deaded up, and they have a lot of precious metal and other stuff. It doesn't have to be gold, it just has to be real things. And I think they would have an interest in taking that back. It's not just good for because
it'd
that
be
would
a defeat though, and it'd be a humiliation, wouldn't it? So
for who? For the Israelis?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, suck it up. I mean, that's what the U.S. has got to tell them. And this was a big mistake. This is the best undo under the circumstances. And as I tell people in my job all the time, your options suck, and you have to pick the least shitty one. Sorry, because there's not an alternative, and at least not that's even worse, unless they're just going to have a fight to the death. And if they win that fight to the
I fear the alternative they picked is they're just gonna maybe drive these people out into the Sinai. And really, it probably takes, I imagine there's a way to bribe or manufacture consent for Egypt to allow this to happen. And once that's done,
it'll be a master stroke if they can do that. And then their idea was, at least as far as actually being able to happen, better than mine by a mile. But they'll still be in the Middle East.
They might just decide, look, we have to just look. We've committed now. We just have to do it, and we can handle the blowback. And I think if they're going to do that, they're going to have to do it like in the next.
You could be right, and then it's just
four,
the U.S.
4 months or something.
I got to say, I'm happy Joe Biden has gotten behind this the way he has, because, if this had been Trump in here, he would have gotten behind this probably. And then that would have been, lights out for him. And so this has been nice to see all kinds of bad people stepping it over this. And I know it's insensitive to not care really about what's going on over there, but I'm really a lot more interested in what's going on here. And for your sake, the UK used to be a nice place too. And it's so much further along this path to hell than we are. That's very grateful for that. The US has a lot of places, not where Judas is at, but, I got to one of them. You can get to a nice state, you can get to a nice place. And it's not a total, it's coming for all of us, but you buy yourself a lot of time.
Yeah, I certainly don't want 2 million Palestinians flooding to the west at any cost. That would just be crazy. I know a lot of them are going to come here if that's the case.
No,
It's going to be an absolute
such a
disaster.
nightmare. And you got your own nightmares already, as do we, but I
Yes.
think yours are worse. And you know, the nightmares we're suffering from are just sort of non-official nightmares. But this would be an extra on top of all that, you know, officially sanctioned, allegedly justified extra nightmare.
No. Hey, living the dream is making a very valid point here. I do have work tomorrow morning, so we are going to have to wind
You've been on
this one
3.5
down.
hours. Anyway, thanks for having me on. Nice talking to you, bud. And
yeah, thank you for coming on. That was an interesting discussion. Definitely, you're welcome back. Judas, thank you for
nice
again being the guy who sends the super chat. Appreciate it very much. Does anybody have any final words before we wrap this thing up?
Yes, secular Quranism will prevent World War III, and we'll talk about it soon, I suppose. I'll let you go. All right.
Yeah, this was a long one. I said we'd cap it at 2 hours. Look what happened.
All these interesting guests, irresistible. We just want to hear all their stories.
Yep. All right, everybody. It's been fun. Appreciate you, and
peace.
We'll see
TBR
you.
did nothing wrong.
It's true. It's true. Actually, it's true. All right, everybody. Let's get rid of everybody. Just me left now. Give this one a thumbs up, if you wouldn't mind, everybody. It's been fun. If you didn't like it, you can give it a thumbs down too. That's an engagement. I'll take that as well. Yeah, I don't have an outro, so that's it. See you later, everybody.